We're having a special city commission meeting to consider one item on an agenda. So I want to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and then City Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll do an invocation, and we will get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you bow your heads? Father, we come to you this day. We are so grateful for the opportunity we have to exercise, Father, our freedom of speech. Today, Father, we are so thankful to be here gathered together. We are so thankful for not only our city and our nation, but also those who protect our freedom. Father, we lift up each and every veteran, Father. We ask that you protect those who are serving in the military, not only here in America, but also all over the world. Today, we ask that you help us to be kind to one another, Father. Give us ears to listen, Father, hearts to hear. And we give you the glory and the honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. So I want to just give a few instructions, and then I'll have City Manager Matt Allen also chime in. So there will be no public comment on anything except the one item on the agenda. And so I want to make sure to note that everyone who would like a chance to speak will have that chance. We ask that when you do speak, please approach the podium, state your name for the record, and then we ask you to provide your comments in a kind and considerate manner. I would also ask that those waiting, please be patient, as we know it's going to take time to really move you between the different speakers and also between the different rooms. Generally, the commission does not ask questions, as this is really our time to listen. However, we do have the opportunity if so desired. And commissioners, I ask, if you would like to ask questions or if you'd like to hear from someone again during our deliberations, please let the city clerk or city manager know at the time of their input so that they can ask if it's possible to be available for later in the meeting. I also want to make sure that you know that depending on the time, we will be taking a break. Commission, if you need to take a break before I signal that we're going to do one, please don't hesitate to ask. We don't want anyone to have to sit here for hour and hour. Finally, as I said before, everything that anyone has to say is valuable. This is, however, not a time to ask questions of the commission, only to provide input and testimony for an important topic and a potential decision. I want to acknowledge that those who could not be here today or did not feel it was in their best interest have provided written testimony that can be either read by city manager or that will be read by the city manager, Matt Allen. I want to thank you for coming today. We know that you have extremely busy schedules, and so you being here tells us a lot about this item and this issue. And this forum is an example of the very best that we have as a representative republic. So as we begin, let me remind you to come to the podium, state your name, provide your input, and then if you'll exit so that into one of our other holding rooms so others can come in and make sure to have their chance to speak also. Also, Assistant City Manager Jennifer Cunningham is going to wipe off the mic between speakers. Just again, our whole idea is to make sure we keep you safe. So with that, Matt, do you have any comments before we get started?
Yeah, and Mayor and Commissioners, this is more for everybody else's benefit, the folks that came to speak. And right now they're in 3 different rooms. And so one of those is this commission chamber. The other is the large meeting room across the hall. And there's a third room in the basement of the LEC across the alley, an emergency management meeting room. Okay. And so to enable folks for this to flow as best we can, we would ask that the people in this room would speak first. When you're done speaking, if you would wish to continue to watch the meeting here on the property, then you would rotate to the emergency management room across the hall. Okay. And as people from here move to the, I'm sorry, not across the hall, across the alley. Right. Those people could move into the large meeting room. People from the large meeting room could then begin to move into here. I think that will make the flow of speakers as organized and as timely as possible. We have personnel to help people find their way back and forth. It's probably a little intimidating walking back over to the police department and trying to figure out which is the right turn. So we've got folks that will help with that, and then we'll be bringing people over as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions or comments, commissioners, before we go ahead and get started. Okay, who would like to be first, and we'll get the meeting started. Yes. Welcome, Commissioner Jones.
Take off the mask for just a minute.
Right.
I'm Dave Jones, Finney County Commissioner with 12 years of background over there. And I want to stand here for just a moment and share a history lesson. The history of Garden City since I moved here in 1980 has been one of working in cooperation between the county and the city. And I certainly have seen that in the last 12 years on the county. And so I want to leave the impression with everybody in our community that we are not at odds with each other. And when we leave here today, after your decision, it's going to be a tough one, that we are a community in harmony. Now, a little bit of other history. The county commission, acting as the county board of health, in late May and early June, considered and opted out of the governor's mandated COVID policies, which included mandatory face masks. But folks tend to forget that it also had a mandatory effect on a lot of businesses. If they were not essential, they were closed. When we opted out, that allowed those businesses to open. It also allowed groups to gather larger than the 10 limit or the 25 that the governor imposed. That said, this topic came before us on November 3 at the county commission meeting, but it came to us not as an agenda item, but rather as public comment. You folks sitting on a commission know it's a little tough to act on public comment because you don't have the background information. We did have a motion and some criticism from the community for not supporting Commissioner Clifford's motion, but it was unclear what we were voting on other than a concept. So that said, my point in standing here is, as the day goes on, let's keep our community all pulling on the same rope and let's recognize that harmony. And I thank you folks for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you.
Before we take up the next person, we need just a minute. We're going to switch out the mics. The mic's not.
Oh, picking up, okay. I think that mic will, yes, that mic's a little hot.
It's working.
Yeah.
It's working.
Thank you, Jamie, for adjusting that. Okay, great. Okay, who would like to be next? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
The longer I sit.
Yeah.
That's okay, don't get nervous. Thank you for coming.
My name's Shelley Smith. I've been emailing all of you. And Deborah, your emails keep rejecting. I don't know if
Yeah,
they
I
got
don't know
it
why.
fixed. Okay.
They did get it fixed, but I don't know.
Okay, right. Good. So I'm just going to read the letter that you guys have all been hounded with for me, just to get it out there for public comment.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read it verbatim. I'm writing to voice my adamant no to mandated masks for Garden City or Finney County. We have all heard and can find data to support whatever position we want to take on this issue. I watched it happen at last week's county commission meeting. I have been giving serious thought to the commissioner's question posed to Colleen Dries. What do you think is attributing to the increase in case numbers? I believe she gave an honest reply. I don't know. So here are just some bullet points I emailed you guys. Everyone knows by now the masks are not foolproof, and we have seen mask wearers touch their faces more than they probably normally would due to adjusting them. So if we just become careless, it's like with your children, you preach the same message to them so many times. After a while, you shut down and quit listening and forget to go back to the basic common sense stuff. I rewatched a portion of the county commission meeting from last week. I heard the care and concern from our medical community, but I did not hear one of them promote any kind of personal health care other than wear a mask. Many medical sites stress the importance of vitamin D, zinc, the high percentage of hospitalized COVID patients with vitamin D deficiencies. The CDC lists obesity and severe obesity, and I was just on there yesterday, as risk factors. I have not heard anything from the medical community promoting better health choices for this risk group. We've lost more than 6 months of valuable time to improve our health, not just mask it. Everyone I talk to is tired of the inconsistent application given to mask wearing. And personally, that's one of the reasons I'm fighting it. We're told wear a mask, but you still can't go to the nursing home or the hospital or the schools because it's not good enough there. I was kept from seeing my mother for the last 6 months of her life, but it was suddenly okay to wear a mask into the nursing home and sit on her bed by her dead body before the funeral home came to take her away. And that was just in September. She did not die of COVID. She died of complications from Parkinson's. I have a friend who just lost a family member this week here in Garden due to COVID. Sick people are delaying going to the hospital because they know they will be cut off from their families. That is what happened to this man. However, they were allowed to come sit by him as he died, or while he died and he was receiving comfort care. So no wonder people are terrified. I think they're delaying going to the hospital, and they're at a point of no return, of no returning home at that point. The hospital director shared at the county commission meeting last week that they would be working on some community education. We all need to be better informed. We're still hearing the same information from 6 months ago. What do family members need to be watching for when their loved ones have tested positive? Can a better informed public help keep their loved ones out of the hospital? It would be so easy to share new and updated information. I mean, Mr. Cessna, Maggie Unruh, we've got all these people that we're paying tax dollars for that are in public communication and information, and probably every church in this town has social media now. I would certainly be encouraging my church to share, information, and we can be checking on each other. And also, prior to last week's county commission meeting, I had no public information about our hospitals were in this dire situation. So again, just lack of communication. And one last thing that might help, because we're all about the social distancing too, I would also like to see businesses asked to extend their store hours with the upcoming holiday shopping season. Social distancing will become much more difficult as shopping increases over the next couple months. I thank you all very much, and I'll keep praying for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings. Thank you all for your service. My name is Wyatt Smith. I'm here today, and I'll read my letter as well, just for the public comment. I want to say thank you all for your service. Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, the County Commission has voted 4-1 against the forced face covering and public mandate. I am disappointed because your actions in drawing up a mask mandate have only served to lose the respect and trust of the citizens, businesses, and patrons of Garden City. You are also fully aware that you have no legal jurisdiction or statutory rights to enforce such a mandate for face coverings in public. And when I say enforce, I mean by use of law enforcement. As far as my research and understanding and talking to professionals goes. According to the powers of the Board of Commissioners, 11th line to contract for the protection and promotion of the public health and welfare is what's listed as a statute in Kansas for county commissioners. It's statute 19212. And I did not find anything that enabled a city commission to use law enforcement to enforce a health mandate. So that's my understanding. You are also hopefully aware that you have no legislative or statutory authority on my person or on any individual here today outside of city-controlled buildings or property. Many business owners will not enforce a mandate that you have passed because they understand the autonomy they have within their place of business, including several medical professionals who run private practices. I am sure you are also aware of the issues of fragmenting policy within a political subdivision of Finney County. Meaning the county commissioners have already said something and you are inside of their jurisdiction and then creating this bubble. What are you telling our youth and our citizenry when we see the acting legal authority, the county commission, make a decision and then you try to sidestep that decision? Also, how are you going to provide a message of hope and moving forward together when you have created a means to allow open harassment towards those who desire to exercise their right to their own health decisions? What happens when open hostility breaks forth because you have empowered someone to attack either physically, emotionally, verbally, an unmasked individual? Have you taken the time to consider these ramifications? I have seen our community act diligently in keeping their distance and respecting others in public places, and I can't begin to understand why we are considering this mandate. The 3W campaign was starting November 6th and was set to run until November 16th. Why did you not let that run its course and then see what the results of it were? I have not one time heard nor seen the city or county promote good nutrition, including vitamins and natural supplements, hydration and exercise as the best means for your body to stay healthy and fight off the virus. You all know we cannot and will not stop a virus from spreading. The only thing we can do is slow the spread and make sure the majority of individuals are healthy enough to combat the virus. Shame on all of you for allowing these messages of fear and false statements of stopping the virus to spread in our community, and for bowing down to a few professionals who have become incessant in their need to control autonomous citizens and business owners. Have you even once contacted a research institution on the safety and efficacy of masks? Or have you just gone to the CDC website? I'm personally contacted. Have you done your due diligence to see what ways are most effective to get through SARS-CoV-2? Not if, but when you get it. And have we educated the public on these things? After a quick scan through the social media feeds of the county health department and the city, the answer is a resounding no. I don't understand how you could in good conscience pass a mandate for face coverings in public that you have not done adequate research on and have been informed by experts in the PPE field of what requirements you would need to follow to make sure everyone is completely safe. A CDC 4-point list, which was posted by the county health department, is not sufficient for proper face covering safety and health. In fact, by OSHA standards, every individual who is required to wear a face covering is supposed to have their oxygen checked regularly and other vitals looked at by a healthcare professional before donning their protective gear. Again, you are out of your depth of authority and have not covered your bases nearly enough to be able to justify this mandate. Consider the legal ramifications for the city if you pass the mandate. Any fines given will be contested by many citizens. You will lose precious court time for those who need to see a speedy and timely trial, and you will clog the system with useless and non-criminal offenses. You might also find yourself on the bad end of a civil rights lawsuit, and you will most likely lose, as you don't have the statutory rights to enforce your mandate according to the state of Kansas. I also believe the county attorney said she will not press charges on anyone for not wearing a mask, so you don't have the backing from the county either. Ethically, you know that forced face coverings are not right, and you must stand up for the individual citizens in your community who do not have a voice. Have you considered those with anxiety who cannot don a face covering due to extreme emotional distress? While they might have a medical condition they could potentially, or exemption, they could potentially feel so bad about not being able to follow the mandate, they will not leave their place of residence, which could result in a loss of their job, depression setting in, and numerous other unseen consequences. We've also seen this. The depression rate in America is skyrocketing right now because of these mandates. I understand there are those who have health issues and pre-existing conditions. However, that has never been a reason for the rest of the community to stop living their lives. My own grandmother passed away at the ranch house for no apparent reason. Her health was steady and she never contracted COVID-19. My mother was just up here, she spoke about that. I'm convinced it's failure to thrive. No family came and saw her for over 2 months and she passed away. Mandates aren't the answer, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for your service and your time. I call upon you to make the best decision to empower citizens, businesses, and patrons of Garden City to make the best decision for themselves that they can by voting no to the mandate. Thank you all so much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we might as well make this a family affair. So, that was my sister-in-law and my nephew. My name is Robin Burkamp. I come as a citizen, a business owner, a board member, and a supporter of Garden City and Finney County. I love this community. I've lived here for almost 50 years, so you know how old I am. And all that it stands for. I have lived here almost all of my life. The division this virus has caused brings me much sadness. I personally have had COVID, as have many of my friends and family. I believe it is real. I believe it can be extremely dangerous to some. My husband is a frontline worker, and I know firsthand the stress they are under when he comes home and tells me that they don't know if they have a bed to send someone to, things like that. So I understand that directly, dealing with my husband every day. I come today asking the city to consider using other methods than a legal mandate to encourage and help slow the spread. I believe this virus is going to impact all of us at some time. The question is when you will get it, not if. I believe social distancing is in many ways more effective than masks. Many of my friends who have contracted the virus are faithful mask wearers. How does this make sense? Please consider the burden this would put on our police department, the burden to the business owners, the risk to some populations being required to wear a mask. There are many reasons someone may not want to wear a mask or be able to wear a mask. Health issues, emotional issues, physical issues. Those people will be forced to explain every time someone asks, why do you not have on a mask? And for some people, as Wyatt said, that might be devastating, something that they can't really deal with. I'm all for educating people on proper ways to be safe, reasons why an activity may be considered more dangerous than another. I am saddened that very few health officials are encouraging behaviors to improve our basic health and ability to fight the virus. I in no way believe the loss of life or serious health issues are something to be discredited. I do believe the freedom our forefathers and current servants to our country fought for are valuable. There is a fine line between government protecting the general public and overstepping that authority. Once that line is crossed, freedom is at risk. I for one moment believe, I wrote this very quickly. If for one moment I believed mandatory masks would stop this problem in a month, I would strongly consider, let's do this. But sadly, I believe the last 8 months have proved this virus will have to run its course, or a vaccine will have to be released to eliminate or lessen the spread. With no evidence that, in my opinion, the overreach of government on the freedoms many have died to protect is not a wise direction. Working together to support our healthcare workers taking personal responsibility to protect those known to be at high risk and keep our community and children active and involved is in my opinion, possible. Please consider other means to help keep our community safe and to use the resources available to do that. Educations on the truth that are known is the best way to enlist public cooperation. Fear is a powerful motivator, but is that the standard we want to base our decisions on? My Bible reminds me often, fear not. Uniting our community will go much farther than division, ensuring the best possible outcome for our fantastic community. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Shelby Hanneman, and I'm a business owner, Focus Matters Technology, and I kind of want to take this in a little bit different direction. I am here saying no to the mandate for masks, and the reason why is twofold. One, I agree with some of the statements that have been mentioned that I feel like this does push your guys' authority to be able to enforce the mandate, or to enforce me wearing a mask, or the citizens of Garden City wearing a mask. But I also want to, as a cybersecurity expert, we don't, when you're looking at technology, you don't just protect the computer. You protect the computer, the network, the applications, and it doesn't matter how much money you spend. If you click on the wrong email, your system is compromised. So it comes down to an individual's ability to identify a threat and stop that threat. So, I feel like this is extremely applicable to the virus, in the sense that it doesn't matter if you wear a mask. A lot of the people who have who made public comment, I know that a gal who made a public comment at the county meeting had spoke about how she worked at the hospital and she got COVID at the hospital, where they've been wearing masks, mandated masks, since the beginning of the virus. I just want to give that analogy, and I represent multiple businesses in the community. I serve a lot of businesses, and it would have far impact on their ability to serve customers who don't want to wear masks. And so that's my public comment. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Jennifer, could you have somebody, we're starting to get some open seats.
Yep, I will notify that just as soon as I get them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Ken Madgwick, and coming as a citizen and a business owner, and I appreciate your openness, and you've got a tough job. I'm probably one that some would say shouldn't be here. I'm old, I have asthma, I have some other underlying conditions I won't bore you with. And so I came this morning without a mask, but I made a choice. I have a choice. I'm free to make a choice, and so I exercised that. I don't feel like I'm inferior to anybody else in terms of being able to absorb information that might protect my health or might not. But I've made a choice, and I appreciate that freedom. In a sense, in a small way, you're guardians of that freedom this morning. And I have children and grandchildren, and I would like, when I'm gone 40 years from now, that they would still have the freedoms that we enjoy today. And so one of my concerns is if you mandate a mask, that's taking away a freedom that I value. A recommendation, I would appreciate. A mandate, I would say no. So that's one thing. The second thing is, I've wished, well, let me say it this way. First of all, I have no medical training whatsoever. Don't know anything about that. But one thing I've wished in the last 9 months is that I didn't know as much as I do about filtration. Being in the hydraulics business for 40 years, I know a little bit about filtration. I've had to learn that. And I won't bore you with numbers, but I'll give you an analogy. I grew up in Africa, and by the way, that's one of the reasons I appreciate the freedoms here. I've lived in countries where you don't have that, and so I do appreciate it. But when I was growing up as a kid in Africa, we had a neighbor that we used to play as kids at their house. You know, you'd go over and play with the other family, and we used to do games, but they had an area that was a bunch of thorn bushes, and we would, it was impenetrable. And so hide and seek and things like that, you'd have to go around it. You couldn't hide in there. And that's a little bit of an analogy of how filter media is. You want that when the particle comes, that the media is impenetrable to particle. However, when we talk about a virus, rather than being like that impenetrable thorn bush, it's more like me walking in a forest with very little undergrowth and tree trunks that are about 15 feet apart. It's just real easy to walk through. And so understand the idea of my saliva not traveling to you and those kinds of things. But if you look at just the numbers on filtration, masks don't make sense. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And I wish you best in your decision. I know it's a tough one, but if I was able to vote, I would vote no. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning.
I'm Mike Russell. I own a small business here in town. Our requirements for OSHA for our employees, if we take and mandate them to have to wear a mask, we have to go in and have all kinds of oxygen tests and everything done on every employee. I'm just curious who's going to have to start eating the funding for all that there, you know, that's, more we add to the small businesses, more it costs us, more it takes the small businesses down, so that's one of my biggest concerns of making a mandate mask deal is now we've got to send everybody up to the hospitals or somewhere else to get tested. And to me, it looks like we're just sending people up to another place to catch something that they shouldn't be even going to, unless they need to be. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, don't be shy.
Yep.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you guys for your work and your,
Oh, could you just give us your name first, please?
okay, I'm Randy Williams. I own the Garden City Ammonia Program, the technical school here in Garden City, Kansas, where we train about 3,000 people that fly in here and use our airports and our restaurants and our hotels. And when it was before the pandemic hit, we was 22 employees growing. We're down to 9 employees. We're doing everything we can to survive. The PPP did help, but the great news, there is a vaccine coming out. If this meeting was a couple days ago, it might have changed my outcome, but right now we got to work together and get over this, and locking down and doing another mask mandate will put us out. Unless the stimulus money comes back, which I don't have much faith in Congress, and that leads into a lot of negativity. I will be headed to Texas on Thursday to a funeral. I was told today that it could be from the death of coronavirus, but the person had open heart surgery. They worked on him 5 hours, and he's 89 years old. When we went to see him last week, they put him in ICU where the virus was. He died lonely. He didn't have anybody with him. So we've got to get through this. There's 2 sides of the story. But I do know, working with OSHA and the mask requirements, respirators and stuff we do with the hazmat responders, you've got to be very careful. Without a mandate of what type of mask, a waste stream, kind of like some of the comments they had today about the health issues. I'm not in perfect good health, but I've been working towards it and trying to eat the right foods and get through this. I have had it. It was tough, but the antibiotics I was lucky enough to got me through it. But what I want to say to your challenge, if we keep, it's going, not when, it's if, it's when, and if we start mandating this stuff, I don't see how all the little businesses can stay alive. I know the hotels are struggling, the restaurants are doing everything they can to keep open. We're trying to do everything we keep open. We are lucky compared to a lot of businesses in town because we can travel. We can take our school and teach on sites, which we've been doing, trying to stay alive. All of our international stuff is shut down. We're sending people now. We've planned like Sweden, never had a shutdown. We've worked with a lot of engineers that still work with our country over there, trying to learn from what they did, and they did nothing. So if you look at the facts, not the emotions, look at the facts. We've got to wake up and start looking at what's going on in the rest of the world. It is a pandemic, but when they classify nobody's dying from cancer, nobody's dying from car wrecks, nobody's dying from anything. They're all dying from coronavirus. That bothers me. And that's all I got to say. Good luck, you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Who's next?
I didn't plan on talking.
Okay.
I'm Shelley Dahl.
Hi, Shelley.
My husband and I own Dahl Land and Cattle, and I'm the office manager. Thank you all so much for serving.
Thank you.
Masks are a false sense of security. Think about it. Do the research. Masks incite fear. Think about that. I love this beautiful city, and I prefer to shop here But if there is a mask mandate, I'll go elsewhere. God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. I encourage you all to soundly vote no to taking away our freedoms. And I thank our veterans here today for their service for our freedoms. God bless this city and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Melissa Saval, and I'm here today as a representative of the Community Health Advisory Board, as well as a business owner in the medical field of Wildcat PT Home Health and a 20-year educator. I invested personally and professionally in this community I grew up in and later chose to raise my family in wanting to keep businesses open, to keep our children in school because they need it socially and emotionally, and in wanting to celebrate our community with all of you again at the many wonderful events we can attend together in our town. For not only these reasons, but for the most important one, I am here for all those we know currently fighting COVID and those who have already lost the battle. I ask that you mandate masks to give our community a chance to flatten the curve and slow the transmission of this disease. For those on the front lines, those that are trying to keep their businesses open, and those of us wanting to live a normal life, don't see this as a statement of personal freedom, but out of respect for the individuals in our community we call neighbors, friends, and loved ones. I want to encourage all of you to encourage masks even if you are not for it. They are not fun for any of us, but the stakes are high, especially as the holidays approach, and it's an opportunity to show how much we care for others and not just ourselves. It's not about living in fear or infringing on one's rights, but wanting our loved ones around to see their children and grandchildren grow up and wanting the same for each of you. With all due respect, commissioners, we are on the brink of a public health crisis. Yesterday, we, as your Community Health Advisory Board, voted to support a mask mandate. And so I ask you, as our leaders, to mandate the wearing of masks when inside and not able to social distance. Each one of you were elected to help protect the citizens of Garden City, and now is your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need like a spray, you know? It makes it quicker.
Yeah, it looks like you
I
have,
feel like everyone's
it looks
waiting
like you
for
have a
the-
process, so no, it's, yeah. Okay, who's next?
Donna Gershner. I also serve on your Community Health Advisory Board, and like she said yesterday, we voted as a group to advise you guys on a mask mandate, and that is our position as a Community Health Board to advise you on health issues. And some of the issues that has been brought before you in the past that are health issues that you passed as a city commission prior to the county passing it is clean indoor air ordinance, whereas we could not get one passed in the county, and tobacco 21, whereas again we could not get passed in county. You guys saw the reasoning for this, that it is a health issue, that it is not a rights issue, that you guys are here to protect us as citizens of Garden City. So I ask that you continue to protect us in health issues. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Donna.
Hi, I'm Bridget Clark. I also serve on the Community Health Advisory Board, and we just voted yesterday for the mask mandate. And then I don't really have anything to say other than I also work at St. Catherine Hospital as the wellness specialist, and I know St. Catherine Hospital would fully support this for the mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget.
Thanks.
Okay, who's next?
Hi, my name is Darla Sammy. I come to you bringing you some wet signatures. We have a petition that we've passed around town. We also have one online, and I think we have additional signatures as well as the paper signatures. I want to read to you what our mask mandate, say no to mask mandate petition says, okay? We are anti-mandate for these reasons. As capable, free-thinking adults, we are very able to maintain physical distance, increase hand washing, disinfecting procedures, and wear masks when appropriate. I think that goes along with a lot of the other comments that have been made from some of the other citizens about masks are not the only recommendation from the CDC. We need to remember that. Are y'all gonna also mandate hand washing? Are you gonna mandate disinfecting, social distancing? How are we gonna be able to control all of that? There are many area establishments who have already taken measures to prevent droplets from spreading, like installing plexiglass barriers, thus making masks overkill. Covering a victim's face with a mask can hide injuries inflicted by an abuser. It can also prohibit a victim from mouthing help. I think y'all heard that last week. Masks are not worn correctly, ultimately limiting the effectiveness. I noticed last week when I was here, nearly everyone that was wearing a mask dozens of times touched their mask, and then they touched this, and then they touched this, and then they touched that. They touched their chairs. It happens. It's human nature. This doesn't belong on our face. So it's a natural reaction to readjust it. We're spreading that. So I think we need to think about that as well. Those who will enforce the mask wearing. This should not be added to our law enforcement's long list of duties and already backed up court system. Residents policing neighbors threatens and damages community trust, while also creating conditions to displace blame when outbreaks occur. We've already seen it this last week. Several of us who've spoken against the mask mandate have been mask shamed on social media. We've been, some of our bosses have been called to complain against us. This is ridiculous. We are a whole, we are a community, and we need to act together. We don't always all agree about the things that are happening, but we're adults. We can handle this. This is not going away. Masks are not going to alleviate the numbers. Let's look at Kansas City. They've had a mask mandate since May. Their numbers are up, according to the Kansas City Star, 115%. Salina has the same issue. Hayes, a business owner called my husband this week and asked if he could send a manager to help run their store because Hayes is overrun. And they have a mask mandate. Masks are not stopping this. There's other measures, and all of them together will work. But forcing us to wear a mask and fining us if we don't is not a good idea. It causes so many conflicts between each other. There's 145 signatures here, and like I said, we have an additional 200 and some signatures that another person will hand to you. Is it safe for me to leave these?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. I don't relish what y'all have to decide today, but remember, there's at least 50 people back here that aren't going to speak but have taken the time to be here today to show that they're against these mask mandates. Let us make the choice for ourselves. We asked y'all and we elected y'all to represent us, but not to herd us like cattle. Thank you.
Thank you. And for those of you who have spoken, if you don't mind just transitioning to the other, if you'd love to say, we'd love to have you, but just there are some other places to transition. That way we can move people through with a little bit. We know that people have things to do, and so we want to make sure that we bring people in and out in the most efficient manner. So, thank you. Okay, who's next?
Don't be shy.
Okay. I'm Annette Wright, and my family and I have been here for 19 years. My husband is from Scott City originally, so he's been here longer. We have our own business, and I wasn't able to attend the county commissioners or the city commissioners last week. I was helping in the election. But I did watch the videos. And coming in here, and I know you're doing this for a safety thing, but is this the only place that it sits? I don't understand. I mean, the chairs aren't being disinfected. The air that we breathe is not being disinfected. I don't understand. And then when you watch the video, the ones that are wanting this mandate, some of them have water bottles. Y'all have water bottles. They're unprotected. It's open. And then you're going to drink out of it? If it's so dangerous? And then you see them touch their mask, remove their mask, and drink out of it, set it down. What makes that any safer than wearing or not wearing a mask? What is protecting that person in this room with everyone wearing a mask? She mentioned too, at the election polls, we had plexiglass, we had masks, you have masks. Those masks are open. How is that protecting people? Do germs not, are the germs not getting in the box? At the courthouse, there's an easel and it has a thing. They take their masks out of the individually wrapped packages and put them in a box. So everyone that walks by, any germs are on the mask. I wouldn't wear that. I also went to Target when this all started, where they had their little booth with plexiglass. The gentleman came up, he hands me a mask. And he says, you have to wear a mask if you want to shop in Target. And I grabbed the mask and I looked at it and I said, even though I don't wear one on a daily, is all I said. He took the mask back, put it back in the box, and said, go ahead and shop. Now, I've also, during the election, was mask shamed by one of the persons that is bringing this forward. She comes in, and I didn't know her other than her name before all this. But when you act the way that you act and you treat people, she comes back out of the office, and there was one gentleman that wore a mask, and that was his choice every day. And there was two ladies up there, myself and another one. She said, I am so proud of you for wearing your mask to protect our city, but you, I'm very disappointed. That's not my place of work. I was representing the clerk's office. Believe me, it's not her choice. She doesn't know my medical history. She doesn't know if I'm able to wear a mask or if I'm not. It's not her place to tell me what I need to do. That's why we need to have trust in our doctors, where you can communicate and they can tell you what's best for you, or you can talk about what you think is best. But not for someone to come in and say, hey, you should be wearing a mask. We had another gentleman, an elderly gentleman, that was in the room when you were placing your votes. He does have medical issues. We had another one come out saying if he is going to work with older people, he needs to mask up. He is an older person. He does have health issues. You don't know what's going on in his life, health-wise. You can't tell people what they need to do. What are we going to do? Like a lot of them have said, the extra expense. I mean, if you don't put it on the small business, what about the people? What if they can't afford it? Those masks, if you read it, a lot of them, I mean, they all say something different. 4 hours, replace, throw away. And if you're touching it, aren't you cross-contaminating? What about your clothes? So we go home, we take the mask off because we're safe. We go inside, but we've got all our clothes on. And we've been to whatever places we've been. It doesn't make sense. And for, how are those people that can't wear a mask, how are they going to be identified when they go into these businesses? If there's a business that says no mask, I respect that, and I'll leave and go somewhere else. That's my choice, just like it is their choice. I've had people say, well, I've got to wear a shirt and shoes into a restaurant. That's not a law. That's a business. And they have to do that because of their restrictions, what the health department maintains in their business. And then I had one say, well, why do I have to stop at a stop sign? That is a law. You have to do that, and there's reasons for that. But I don't feel like that right, my right to choose, should be taken away for something like this. And I know that a lot of people, I believe, I may be wrong because I'm not a doctor, it's a HIPAA violation. You shouldn't have to, tell people what's going on in your life or your health-wise just because they want you to wear a mask. This is going to be a really big hardship on people. And when we closed the economy down, that has never, ever happened in the history of the United States. And we've had things, health issues, that have knocked out more people than this has. We need to be able to take responsibility for our own selves and our families. If masks work too, why aren't they working at school? If you look at the number, and they're saying the children are carriers and are giving it to us. You're wearing your mask. They're telling us if you wear a mask, you won't get this. But kids are getting it. And I've had a family member, and I've got an aunt that they said she had COVID and she passed away. My mother had it. It was horrible. But she got through it. And she wore a mask everywhere. She used to work in a doctor's office. So, and he even, when she went in, I don't think you have this, comes back, she had COVID. But it's a horrible thing. But I think it should be our choice. And I don't think it should be forced upon us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next?
My name's Rodney Wadle. Terry Wadle and I own multiple businesses in this community, and we fully support this community. We went out of our way and did extra precautions to try to keep everybody safe in our businesses, and everything that's going on. The pandemic's was really hard on us because we ended up closing some of our businesses down. I don't believe that the mask mandate is going to help. I think we all just need to work at social distancing and do a better job at that and educate us more rather than try to impose more rules on everybody. Let's just try to work with everybody and come up with a better solution than mandating the mask, because the masks they're not gonna help our businesses. We've all struggled through this thing. This virus is real. I've had employees and friends and everybody that has it, they've all got through it, but this is real. But a mask mandate and more rules is not the answer. We just need to figure out a way to educate the public more to where we can do better job at fighting this. That's all. I'll keep it short. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Okay, who's next? Hello.
How's it going? My name's Blake Thackeray. I'm owner of KB Sweat Station here on Main Street. We've been open pretty much the whole time besides the mandatory that was shut down, the either 2-4 weeks, whatever it was. Other than that, we have been open every single day. We haven't canceled any sessions. None of our staff has contracted the virus, luckily so far. We haven't had any outbreaks at the gym so far. We I mean, it's in a group setting. Obviously, with all the COVID and stuff, it's not as big as it used to be, but we still have it in a group setting. We still have people that are, it is a big facility, 5,500 square feet, so we do have areas enough to kind of spread out and stuff like that, but no one has contracted. We haven't had an outbreak. We have changed up some of our stuff that we do there with we carry around a wipe. We do in a boot camp, so we rotate each time, so we wipe down as we go. We do that. We have hand sanitizer. So we have changed up stuff, and we're able still to be open, functioning, and running, and without any problems as of right now. So I'm definitely against the mask mandate on that. We don't wear a mask also while we're working out, just for anyway, I will skip over that, but on that. Some of the quick stats though, I just like to that compare to that we have other towns that are mandating the mask from when it started, like Wichita, they started on July 3rd. They had 1,564 cases. Now they have 17,232. I mean, that's over 10x since the mask mandate has been going on. Manhattan, same thing, 325 right when they started the mask mandate. Now they're at 2523. Hayes also, they were 115 when they started their mask mandate. Now they're at 1634. Salina, they were at 190, now they're at 1443. And then Emporia, 716, now they're at 1607. And they've been on mask date, I mean, that's July and August, months and months on that. And if on their mandates that they've had, if they've been sticking to it pretty strong, then obviously just looking at those numbers, it's not helping their cases go down at all. They're actually 10x, every city that's on here has 10x on there. So just comparing that on that for different counties that have been, or different towns that have used it on that, that's the only ones I could look up that were on there. With 5 of them that have not, from number-wise anyway, have not worked. Obviously right now, and just community-wise, I mean, we also had, a mask mandate. We have our schools right now, a mask mandate, teachers, students. Obviously right now we're not in school anymore, it's every other day. So, I mean, that right there on a mask mandate, without going too deep, I mean, it just looks like it's not working out. Now all the kids are at home every other day. Thousands of kids probably at home alone while parents still have to work. And so I don't think the mask mandate will help out too much. I think just my strategy would be just more letting people know, more information be put out, whether it be commercials on the radio, pamphlets, maybe businesses could put stuff up in their windows as they walk by when they're shopping, things like that can help out. I think more awareness of what's going on that could help out. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, who would like to be next?
I'll go.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
Hi. First of all, my name is Terry Wadle. You spoke with my husband, or you heard from my husband earlier. As he stated, we do own several businesses within this community. I wanted to come up here because I am a salon owner, which is one that was hit pretty hard when we had to shut down. It was one that a lot of people used as examples for opening or not opening. So I feel I need to not only speak for my family, for my community, but also for my businesses and for other salon owners in this community and town as to how this has affected us. We are trained, we're regulated by the state. We have someone come in by the state every year to walk through our salons, to walk through our facilities and make sure we are up to regulation. What that means is they don't come in and say, hey, I want to see you do a haircut, which a lot of people think. They don't come in and say, hey, will you do a pedicure for me? How about you do my feet? They don't do this. They come in and say, what hospital grade antibacterial are you using? Where's your sanitation and sterilization? What do you know about bacteria? What do you know about virus? What do you know? They want to know what my training is, what my education is. It's not just hair, pedicures, massages, facials, okay? We are taking in consideration what our people are coming into, and we are protecting them. And we do this on the daily. We don't just do this because there's a virus, there's something active. We do this because this is something we are asked to do, and because of our knowledge and how these things work and how you can stop them, this is why we do what we do. As far as the masks go, I don't feel they're effective. I know people that don't wear them at all, but I know people that wear them all the time. And those people get sick. And when you ask them, they're like, well, masks are working. Well, okay, if masks are working, why are our numbers going up? Can anybody answer that? Well, I get, well, that's because everybody won't wear a mask. Well, if you're wearing a mask and it works, why are you concerned? If you're wearing a mask, why do you think you're going to get sick if I don't wear one? Because it works. Because that's what you're all trying to say. If we make these mandates, they're going to work. Well, they're not working because the people that are wearing them are still getting sick. It's confusing. None of us have the right answers. None of us are being given the right information for us to make these decisions. So for myself, for my businesses, for my family, we choose not to wear a mask because of the fact that we don't even know how much harm they could be doing. We're breathing in our own carbon monoxide. We don't know what damage that's doing. And people say, well, the medical field do it all the time. They don't wear them 8 hours a day solid. Ask any medical provider. They don't wear them constantly all day long when they're in a sterilized environment, which is what the masks, when you see them wear them in the medical field, in the hospitals, they're in a sterilized environment, and those are the masks they wear. I just want to implore to all of you, I am grateful for everything that you have done for our communities. I feel really upsetting for the decisions that you all have to make, but I hope that you take into consideration that me as a business owner, I refuse to shut down again. I will not. I will peacefully protest. Because for me, I have worked way too hard, and my family has worked way too hard in this community, and we have given back to this community, and we do everything that we can for our families and our community to watch our dreams and everything that we have worked for in this country die. And I refuse. So I understand the decision and what you are in, but please understand the position that I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Hi, my name's Troy Huber. I'm a business owner here in town.
Good morning.
Appreciate all you guys' service. And I was born and raised right here in Garden City. And, you know, I've never seen the likes of things that's going on in our world now. And, you know, just the psychological impact of this mask thing. Like, okay, I don't wear one. I refuse to wear one. And I walk in a grocery store somewhere, and just like me looking at you folks, no, I don't mean any offense, but you all look scared to me. All I see is you're frightened. And people look at me when I walk in a grocery store like I'm a criminal. So, you know, just the psychological part of this is wrong, is bad. And also, you know, the way I'm kind of a people watcher. My wife always accuses me of it. And, you know, when I go to a restaurant, I watch people open that door. I watch them go in. They don't clean their hands off or anything. How many other people has grabbed that door, you know? When I go to my mailbox at my work or at my house. You know, I grab that mail. How many hands has that been in? You know, I still lick the envelopes. Who licked the envelope? Okay, and the people watching I do. I go in a grocery store, anywhere I go, I pay cash, okay? I pull out or I watch the guy in front of me, he might cough in his hand. Then he reaches in his pocket, he puts his money, she puts his money in the cash register. And what happens when I get there? She takes his money out, I put it in mine, okay? And then later on in the day, my son might go, oh, hey Dad, can I have some money for a pop? Yeah, here you go, son. So boom, contamination all the way. The masks isn't working. And plus, you know, just breathing in your own carbon dioxide all day long. Come on, you know, I've been reading articles about how this bacterial pneumonia is all at an all-time high. And plus, you know what, and also read that breathing in your carbon dioxide every day weakens your immune system. I think right now we all need a really healthy one. And also, you know, here we are weakening our immune system and shortening our breath, scared we're gonna catch a virus that has a 97% recovery rate. And I'm sorry for the people who didn't, that might have had other things, and I know it's real. I know some people who've had it. Most of them recovered fine. Most of them just had a little smell and taste problem. But that's my viewpoint, guys. And I'm not gonna wear one. I'm gonna fight the thing. If I get, well, what am I, or if this passes, are they gonna give people tickets? Are we gonna have to pay fines? If that's the case, you know, the last thing the city or the county would want would be maybe a class action lawsuit, I would think, because I know a lot of people who has told me that, you know, I'm only gonna go in the grocery store to get my stuff. I'm not gonna go in other stores and shop if I have to wear a mask. So that's gonna be a hardship on businesses too. So I thank you.
Thank you, Troy. And just checking, Jennifer, are there others that need to rotate in, or are they?
It's my understanding that other than the people who are in here, we've told people that we're not having them sit in here unless they want to speak. And so there are several across the hall. Our room is full, but there's no one else who wants to speak in there. And we just double checked at the emergency management area, and there is no one over there who wants to speak. However, I was supposed to let you all know that if you have any questions for any of the health professionals, they are all present, and they are actually over at emergency management, and we'll be happy to come over if you want to ask any questions of them or if you want to have them say anything specific.
My name is Dr. D. Rupp. I'm a chiropractor here in Garden City, been in practice since 1982. I try to stay under the radar and hope for things to turn out right. Shelley Dahl already leaked out, I'm a veteran. And for 50 years, I was embarrassed to stand up every Veterans Day. I served our country, yeah, I went to Vietnam. I came back, I hated our government. I hated both sides of the aisle. I haven't voted for a president since McGovern, and he was a Democrat. And I voted this election because this is important to me. I am qualified to be up here. Chiropractors and medical doctors both take the same national boards for licensure in this United States. And I want to thank you for having this on a Wednesday, because I used to work on Wednesday, but because of COVID, I've shut down Wednesday all day. But I'm 71 and I don't care. I've enjoyed it so much, I'm never going to open up again on Wednesday. I wanted to touch on some things that got mentioned. Vitamin D, yeah, absolutely. I've had management people from Tyson, an essential industry. Why do we have so many? We've got an essential industry. Yeah. Welcome to the club. We're ahead of the game. It's not over. Yogi Bear said that. It's true. It isn't over yet. I asked that middle management individual, I said, what's the percentage of COVID cases on the day crew versus the night crew? What's that got to do with anything? I spent 2 years in a packing plant. On the day crew, you never saw daylight. You never made vitamin D from the sun. Statistical difference out there. I said, you might ought to pass that on to management. Has anything happened? I don't know. And I'm glad they're there. I don't want them to shut down. But if you want to get this thing, well, let's just start shutting down businesses that are high risk. I mean, I was told, I'm part of the committee, the small committee that put this together. And I wanted to see what was brought up by those that I didn't have any idea. I was told, don't go to this from the medical angle, go to it from the legal angle. Well, medical is my area of expertise. But I would like to read a medical angle from Judge Mahaney, who spoke his mind after a Friday noon case. He said, since the inception of all this insanity, the following regulations, rules, consequences have occurred. I won't get COVID if I have an abortion, but I will get COVID if I get a colonoscopy. Selling pot is essential, but selling goods and services at family-owned businesses is not. Pot wasn't even legal, and dispensaries didn't exist in this state until 5 months ago, and in that 5 months, they've become essential. But a family-owned business in existence for 5 generations is not. A family of 6 can pile in their car and drive to Lake Carlisle without contracting COVID, but if they all go out and get in a boat, they will. Got to wear a mask. We were told kids rarely contract the virus. This was 5/26, and that's still true. And sunlight kills it. But we've canceled all the youth programs, sports programs. 4 people can drive to the golf course and not get COVID, but play in a foursome, they will. If I go to Walmart, I won't get COVID, but if I go to church, I will. Murderers are released from custody while small business owners are being threatened with arrest. And I know your mandate is mandating fines, and we're letting people out of prison and threatening to put people in prison over this. It's horrible. These are just a few examples of the rules, regulations, consequences that are arbitrary, capricious, completely devoid of anything even remotely approaching common sense. State attorneys in this state, county sheriffs, mayors, city councils, and county boards have openly and publicly defied these orders, followed by threats to withhold funding and revocation if necessary licenses and certifications unless you obey. Our economy is shut down because of a flu virus with a 98%, 5/26, and it's getting better all the time because we test more. And the more we test, the more we find out this thing isn't that big of a killer. Where was that? Economy shut down. Doctors and experts say things differently. Weekly, yes, we've seen that. The defendant cites models in his opposition. The only thing experts will agree on is that all the models are wrong and some are useful. I'm not even gonna finish that. I don't want to stay up here that long. I appreciate you guys' time and your service. So I was told, no, don't go from the medical aspect. No, this is the FDA website. Surgical masks, and we're just going to hit the highlights, the yellow, what I've highlighted here. While a surgical mask may be effective in blocking splashes and large particle droplets, a face mask by design does not filter or block very small particles in the air that may be transmitted by coughs and sneezes or certain medical procedures. Surgical masks also do not provide complete protection from germs or other contaminants because of the loose fit between the surface of the mask and your face. Want to know how many times bigger a germ is than a virus? 10 to 100. 10 to 100 times. Surgical masks, I'm hitting the highlights. N95 respirators. An N95 respirator is a respiratory protective device designed to achieve a very close spatial fit and a very efficient filtration of airborne particles. Note that the edges of the respirator are designed to form a seal around the mouth and the nose. Skipping on down. And they're actually supposed to be fitted per individual. So they don't even work on children or whatever. They're that precise. All FDA-cleared N95 respirators are labeled as single use. Do you really think people are changing masks every day? I went to the fast food line the other day, and the gal that opened the door to give me my food, it was a surgical mask. The thing was frayed, for crying out loud. Nobody's changing those things out. They're all looking like they're doing something because they're being motivated by fear from authorities. I don't know how many people wouldn't have a mask on if they weren't scared of the authorities. Okay, respirators, continue. Respirators are not designed for children or people with facial hair because a proper fit cannot be achieved on children and people with facial hair. The N95 respirator may not provide full protection. Now, when you hear full protection, you think it's going to eliminate every virus. No, it's not. That's not what full protection even means. So, the N95 tight-fitting respirator now falls into the category of being a surgical mask, a loose-fitting surgical mask, which goes back up and says, a surgical mask also do not provide complete protection from even germs. We're talking viruses here. I ate at the restaurant until everything got shut down, and I watched people doing something that looked good. They're spraying. I'm eating and watching, and I thought, what is that they're spraying? I got my phone out, I copied it. It was antibacterial. Did people feel safe, like they were doing something? Yeah. We aren't doing anything to protect ourselves from this stuff. Going on, the FDA also had, FDA.gov, face masks marketed to the general public for general non-medical purposes such as use in construction and other industrial applications are not medical devices. Face masks, when they are intended for medical purposes, such as source control, including uses related to COVID-19, so we know that's a recent addition in what's probably been long-standing recommendations, and surgical masks are medical devices. Okay, now they are. Skipping down to the more yellow highlighted, face masks, non-surgical masks, may not provide protection from fluids or may not filter particles needed to protect against pathogens such as viruses. People, it's FDA. It's FDA. They are not for surgical use and are not considered personal protective equipment. Surgical masks are fluid-resistant, disposable, and loose-fitting devices that create a physical barrier between the mouth and nose and wearer and the immediate environment. They are for use in surgical settings and do not provide full protection from inhalation of airborne pathogens such as viruses. I can't believe our medical advisor to the county. Okay, can a mask claim conformance with the National Institutes for Occupational Health and Filtration Efficiency Standard? No, masks cannot make any claim to meet a NIOSH filtration efficiency standard. Such claims can only be made for a respirator when a respirator meets a specific filtration efficiency, which is what Ken Majewick spoke about earlier. So, gentlemen, ladies, I appreciate you guys' service, and I know this is a tough decision to make. And I pray to God that you make the right one. I notice we open with invocation, and Scripture says there's wisdom in an abundance of counseling. There's wisdom in an abundance of counseling. But in another verse, it says, woe unto the rebellious child that seeks counsel, but not of me, and a covering of my spirit. So I pray you all make the right decision, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I know we do have one that requested to be read, is that correct, Matt? And then, is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay. Yeah.
Is there one or two?
I don't remember, we'll let Matt. Yes.
Hello.
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 My name is Lisa Loving. I am a business owner. I own 2 businesses, my husband and I, in Garden City. I did not prepare any notes or letters or anything, so I'm just gonna speak from my heart. When all this started, this COVID-19 came about, we ended up having to shut both of our businesses down. It was very devastating. We survived. We opened back up. It's still not up to what it was prior to. We lost I own a bakery. So we lost May, which is actually our busiest month of the year, even busier than Christmas, believe it or not, because of graduation. So, we took a really hard hit. But you know what? I know a lot of other businesses in town that went through the same thing. I say no to the mask mandate, and I'm going to give you just my reasons why. I've been listening since all of this started to people coming up here for it or against it, and I have not heard one person that was for it that gave a logical reason of why it should be put in place. They have not given me the reason or made me feel that there is a scientific evidence that a mask actually will cut the coronavirus down in our community at all. But I have heard people say that wearing a mask in these other counties has proven not to be effective, and their cases have actually increased tremendously. So, I'm all about following laws and everything like that. But you know what? I'm a grandma, I'm a mom, I'm a business owner, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a pet owner, and I also have a choice. God gave me the reason, gave us that choice. Our government, actually, our Constitution gives us the choice. We choose every single day to get out of bed in the morning. We choose to get dressed. We choose to go to work. I also want to choose to wear a mask or not. And a little background. June was 1 year I have been in the fight for my life. I have breast cancer, and so far I have kicked its butt.
Congratulations.
And this here, it should be my choice to, whether or not I put myself at risk. Because let me tell you something. My immune system, they're going through chemo treatments, and there is so many people that we have in our own community that fight for their life every single day because of cancer. Okay, that's just one thing. We have heart disease, diabetes, all kinds of different things. It should be their choice to whether they're gonna cover their face and wear a mask. And my doctor told me while I was going through chemo that my immune system was down because of the chemotherapy, which I was susceptible to getting pneumonia, the flu, any kind of viruses, bacteria, and stuff like that. My immune system was down. So I had a choice. When I was around somebody who was ill, or when I was in a place where there were, a lot of people, to wear a mask, if I chose to. He didn't tell me I had to. He said, it's your choice. But here, what may happen or may not happen. You could catch something, end up in the hospital, you could recover, or you could die. But it was still my choice. Okay? So now that I finished my chemo, and I am told I'm supposed to build my immune system back up. Well, if I protect myself from any kind of germs, I am leaving myself susceptible to getting something. So if I wear a mask all the time, I am not building my immune system, and so I can catch something easier. I carry a mask with me because of mask shaming, and I will sometimes put it on, but it comes right back off. Chemo affects your teeth, it affects your lungs, it affects your heart. Everybody's different. It's a gift that keeps giving. Okay, it affects so many different things. And I choose not to wear a mask unless I absolutely feel I need to. And that's my choice. Okay, I feel like it's crazy. My 8-year-old grandson even told me, "Grandma, it just doesn't make any sense." I said, "What, honey? What doesn't make any sense?" He says, "How come when we go to the restaurant," and of course he lives up by Kansas City. He lives actually in Eudora, and he was in Lawrence. He goes, "How come when we go into the restaurant we have to have a mask on, but when we sit down at the table, we can take it off?" He goes, "That just doesn't make any sense." He goes, "So I get sick if I stand up, but if I sit down, I don't?" Out of the mouths of babes. So all I say is use your conscience, guys. Common sense comes into play. I mean, I know you guys are all wearing your masks because you should, because of everybody's throwing a fit or what have you. We're wiping this down, like they said. Nobody's wiping anything else down. So, I don't know. I just wanted to speak my mind. Thank you for listening, and please vote no on the mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Hank Morgan. I'm a business owner. Forgive me, I'm nervous.
You're fine.
Yep, thanks, Hank, for being here. Just take your time.
Guys, thank you for what you do. Thank you for being concerned about us. I still enjoy the freedoms of this country, and I believe it's our right to choose. I got lots of opinions. I'm not going to share them now, but that's where I stand. So thank you for your time. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, forgot what my duties were for a second. We're gonna need a new sign after getting out one.
You what? Yeah, the sinking chair. Good morning.
Hello. My name is Scott Booker, and I'm a family physician who works at Sienna. And I have been listening to this online, and thank you so much for taking your time. And there were several things that I felt personally that I had to come in to clarify. There have been 20 patients so far in Garden City who have passed away. 10 of them were my patients. Patients that most of them I have seen in my office within the last 3 months. I've had family members that have passed away. And let me tell you right here and now, these are good people who pay taxes in this community, who go to stores, and who are now dead. Okay, they're not going to go to the store, they're not going to buy anything, they're going to wind up, they're done. Okay, their family members are in mourning. It's a horrible, terrible thing. This is the real story of what winds up happening when people catch this infection. I cannot tell you how difficult it is for me when people who I've known and I've really cared for and loved for years and years and years who now have passed away from this horrible disease. A mask is not a perfect device, but I'm telling you what, here in my, anything that I could do to help people, to keep them alive, okay, I'm going to do. This is real to people in our community. And I understand people's not wanting to wear a mask, but out of compassion and concern for their fellow man, their fellow woman, their parents, their neighbors, their children, I don't think it's asking too much to wear a mask. It just isn't. And when you look in the eyes of those people and you have to tell somebody, ma'am, you've got COVID, and you wonder, is this the last time you're going to see them? This very day of a patient that found out, and the daughter called me, and what am I supposed to do, Dr. Booker? And I tell them, I say, these are some things that we can do, but the main thing that we can do is we can pray for these people. Why did they get it? If I can wear a mask and other people in the community can wear a mask, is that really asking too much? Is it really asking too much? I don't think so. So when I heard that, and I've heard a lot of people negative things, and I understand nobody wants to wear a mask, but if I can help my neighbor, I think that's what I need to do. And I really want you to think strong and hard about this. This is real people, okay, and they're dying in our community right now. And these numbers are going up. I think there's like 69,000 people. They're in hospitals across the country, hospital beds that are full, so that if any one of us who don't catch the infection and we have an illness, there's no hospital beds there. That's happening in our community now. And these people that are working in this community, in these hospitals right now, are exhausted and they're worn out. And I think anything that we can do to help them, I think is very, very important too. So I don't want to be too overly emotional about it. I want to be professional. But these 10 people that I knew that are good people that aren't here anymore, good friends of mine, said their voice needs to be heard too. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Booker.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I know that we are 90 minutes into the meeting. Does anyone need a break?
Do we have another?
Oh,
We do have someone else who decided
okay,
to come
no,
in.
okay, great. Sorry, I didn't see you come in. Sorry, Melissa. And I know we have one or a couple to be read. Is that correct? 3. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I'll be brief. I'm Melissa Fulton. I don't want to talk here today. I wish I didn't have to be here, but I feel like I need to. I love this community, and what makes I love that we have so many different kinds of people that we have. This is a great place to be. But what this community is built on is relationship, and these masks are dehumanizing. I see people afraid of each other. People that I would normally say hello to, I don't even know who they are. My husband and I walked around the corner of a store. Somebody had said, "Hey guys," and I was like, "Lance, who was that?" We don't know who you are. We're losing all of the things that make us human, all of the things that connect us together, all of the things that make us want to defend each other, want to stand up for each other, because we're losing our humanity. We're teaching children to be afraid of each other. We're teaching them not to share. We're not teaching them how to react properly to facial expression. I'm really, really worried, especially for the children in our community. I have a couple of questions for you. I want to know, are you considering mandating a medical device, or is this a dress code? Because what you have on your faces here today, I would not sand drywall wearing that. It would not protect me from that ubiquitous dust, which is, I can't even imagine how many times larger than a virus it is. And if you do mandate this, how are you going to protect the people who should not or cannot wear a mask? We've already heard there's mask shaming going on in our community, and this isn't even mandated yet. So what will you be doing to protect those people so they don't have to build up their courage every single time they go out for something they need and have to stand against bullies, basically bullies? And I guess I'm imploring you today, please do not cave into bullies. We have to live our lives. We were tricked into the 14 days. Basically, 14 days we will, I can't even remember what they said. So we'll level it out, smash the curve. Now you're asking for 30 days. Well, I'm going to say, fool us once. And I know I wasn't this government or body. Shame on you. But fool us twice. Where's it going to go after 30 days? Because it's a virus. It just has to. I'm sorry it's here. And the irony is not lost on me that today is Veterans Day. And every man and woman that's walked into certain danger for our rights, they walked into that danger not so that we could be free from disease, but so that we could be free from tyranny. This, I feel, is a grave imposition on our rights. I think this is not something that is constitutional even. I implore you, please do not mandate this for all of us. We can make these choices. We make choices, we're standing far apart. I thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. So did you want to say anything? Okay, yeah.
My name's Stephen Madrick. I'd like to come back and first of all, you've already heard me, but I would like to amend my comments from last time. One of the things I said was that it was illegal in the state of Kansas to wear a face mask and concealed carry. That's not true. There's some ambiguous laws that say you can't cover your face to commit a crime, but not even that applies in Kansas. So I really also think, though, that's totally awesome if you think about it. That you can conceal a weapon with your face covered. I don't know if the police chief would agree with me with that. I'd also think a good question to ask the police chief, and I'm glad he's here because I was a Marine Corps officer. I want you to ask him about the psychology of killing somebody. Is it easier to kill somebody when their face is covered or to seriously harm them, such as beating them with a stick or an instrument? It is easier, I would say, and I don't think I want to put the police in danger of future turmoil in society. And I think it's coming. If you don't, I would bring to your attention, today is actually Veterans Day, but it's also a trucker strike. And they're going to strike again November 26th through 29th. They're following a pattern that happened in Brazil. And all the truckers struck and they didn't have gasoline for 10 days or something, almost crippled the country. But I also want to speak, there's that. There was another comment that I saw on YouTube after we saw the meeting. A doctor who is a surgeon says that she wears a face mask for long periods of time in a surgery, and that's not a problem. Well, bless her heart. She's got a lot to know, and she's probably really good at her job. But what you need to do is ask the engineer in the hospital, who's on the basement level, that they artificially raise the O2 levels in operating rooms to compensate for that. And almost every hospital, I would think at that level that our hospital is at, transferring hospitals would have increased O2 levels to artificially compensate for face masks. And I would also say if you're going to filter something, you need a positive seal around the face and nose. There's no positive seals here, all right? And the only one that I've seen with a positive seal was a level 3 mask, I think that's what he called it, I'm not sure, was an OB nurse in Lakin that would, on his own free will, wear that higher level mask. And he went home every day. He admitted that I have a sore throat every day going, because he wears a 12-hour shift a day. The last thing I wanted to comment on was, are you guys aware, has somebody spoken about the CT level in the RT-PCR test? Is that on anybody's radar? it's a thing. The PRT stands for real-time PCR test, is the test that they say whether you're positive or not on this COVID virus. And all it does is they go in and they do a swab, and they don't want it mucus infected or mucus contaminated, so they do it up high. And then they put it in and they amplify. They actually break down the DNA and they amplify it. And so they're looking for DNA of the coronavirus. And it could be a dead body of a, I don't know the technical term, but it could be a dead body of a coronavirus that's not active even. Or you could have gotten the virus 3 months ago and your body will admit, not heavily, but your body's purging and wanting, you know, you have an immune system and it's getting that virus out of you. And at extremely low levels. And if it detects that, then you have to amplify. And that's what the CT is, the cyclic threshold. And if somebody comes and says, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, well, what you could ask him is, why didn't you tell me about the CT? And do it as winsomely as Stephen Madgewick's doing it now. And you could also ask him, you know, what the CT levels are of the tests that we're getting back. And a lot of times I'm being told, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, that the doctors and nurses don't know. It's the lab sets the CT. So, for example, these are ambiguous numbers, but if the CT is 35 through 40, 37, 36 even, and they have Fauci on record in July talking about this, that wouldn't even culture a petri dish with the virus. But maybe somewhere where you're positively admitting the virus, it might be a CT of more of a 30 or 35 where they don't have to amplify it as much. So it could be political where, hey, the new president comes in and we drop the CT like a lever down, and now we're not having as many cases. Magic, wow. That other president was so bad, you know. And you always have to look at the patient in light of the symptoms. Does he look like he's sick, or they'll say it's asymptomatic, but a positive, and that's the case? I beg to differ. There's a CT thing in there as well. And you could have someone also explain those things. I also want to you might not know me, want to be lighthearted about this. It's kind of tense. So, Chief, I really respect you in the police force, and I wore a uniform too. So, just wanted to say that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So again, I want to make sure if there's anyone that additional would like to speak. I know that we do have 3 that Matt will be reading. However, I would like to take a break, so I need one for a few minutes. But if there's other people that'd like to speak, I don't mind waiting through those, so.
Let me just run across and double check really quick. We did check briefly before this, but let me just double check one more time, make sure no one's changed their mind.
Okay. Sure. Oh, no, that'd be great.
So no one else wants to speak. I was asked to give you this list of names that were put together on a petition, so I'm just going to give it to Sophia, and I think you.
So yeah, we're going to take about a 10-minute break here in just a few moments, but we do have some seating in the chambers, and so if you would like to come and reseat yourself in the chamber, I mean, we will have to make sure that once it's full, that we will not have additional space. But I would like to take at least a 10-minute break. And there was a lot of information I would also, especially the names and those things that we've not seen yet. So, and then we will have the 3 comments that want to be read, and then we will we'll begin our discussion. That works. Okay, so let's take a break until let's take 11:55. We'll come back here at 11:55, and then we will go ahead and have Matt read those next.
All right, thank you.
These need to be copied.
Yeah, would you make a copy of both of those? Yeah.
We have three.
Okay.
If someone doesn't have, or has a name that, an email that they thought was going to get read, I'd be happy to try to find that in the packet I've got. But if I don't have it, I may ask you to provide that to me, or I'll try to hunt it down in the meantime and read it a little bit later in the meeting. The three that I have, first of all, is an email from Kay McPhee, and specifically requesting that her public input be read into the record of the meeting. Garden City Commissioners, I am imploring you to take action to slow the out-of-control spread of COVID-19 in our city. It is unbelievable that the City Commission was informed that the positivity rate reached 41% the week of October 19th through 23rd and chose not to take immediate action. Please listen and believe the medical professionals of our city, including those hired to run the Finney County Health Department. Okay, it goes on to say, although education on measures that can be taken to stop the spread do and should continue, it is way past time to implement a mask mandate and limit gatherings. The vast majority of people know what needs to be done to slow the spread. Those who are not wearing masks and not social distancing are doing so by choice. This seems to be the elephant in the room, that many, many people in our city are choosing not to wear masks and not to social distance, thereby causing the out-of-control spread. Please slow the spread of the pandemic by implementing a mask mandate and limiting gatherings. The mask mandate needs to include the stipulation that the masks cover the nose and mouth while being worn. Please then put measures in place to enforce these mandates. No one wants these mandates and no one wants to enforce them. Unfortunately, the many people who are choosing not to follow the recommended CDC, KDHE, and FCHD guidelines have created this out-of-control health crisis in our city that must be acted upon immediately. Therefore, I implore you to do the job you were elected to do and implement a mask mandate, gathering limits, and any other proposed directives from Finney County Health Department in regards to COVID-19 for the health and well-being of the people of Garden City. Again, that was input from citizen Kay McPhee, who asked that her comments be read into the meeting. The next item of information isn't so much reading a letter, but sharing the updated results. Bear with me while I open up the computer here. Okay. There was a 2-question survey that the Chamber of Commerce had sent out to their membership. Micah Bunch, Chamber of Commerce President, regrets not being able to present this to you, but asked me to share it with you. So again, it was a 2-question survey. This they've identified as question 1. As a business representative, are you in support of a community mask mandate? There were 182 answers. None of them skipped the question. 55.49% indicated yes, 44.51% indicated no, or in actual votes it was 101 yes, 81 no. Again, the question, as a business representative, are you in support of a community mask mandate? Question number 2 of that chamber survey, do you currently encourage masks to be worn and social distancing guidelines adhered to by guests visiting your business? The 68.93% responded yes, 31.07% responded no. In actual votes, 122 voted yes, 55 voted no. Again, that question, do you currently encourage masks to be worn and social distancing guidelines adhered to by guests visiting your business. So I appreciate Micah sending you that information. I would say it was current up until about 30 minutes before the meeting started when she sent that to me. And she also expressed her regrets for not being able to present that herself, but told her we would take care of that. The third item was a request from Dr. Lindsay Burns to read a CDC brief that was, I think, made available yesterday on the wearing of cloth masks, November 10th. So bear with me. I agreed to read this, but it's not short. In fact, I'm going to try to zoom in on this. So. No, maybe not. Okay, we'll just read it. So this is the name of this brief is Scientific Brief, Community Use of Cloth Masks to Control the Spread of SARS-CoV-2. Background section. SARS-CoV-2 infection is transmitted predominantly by respiratory droplets generated when people cough, sneeze, sing, talk, or breathe. CDC recommends community use of masks, specifically non-valved multi-layer cloth masks, to prevent transmission of SARS-CoV-2. Masks are primarily intended to reduce the emission of virus-laden droplets, which is especially relevant for asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic infected wearers who feel well and may be unaware of their infectiousness to others, and who are estimated to account for more than 50% of transmissions. Masks also help reduce inhalation of these droplets by the wearer. The community benefit of masking for SARS-CoV-2 control is due to the combination of these effects. Individual prevention benefit increases with increasing numbers of people using masks consistently and correctly. Section 2, source control to block exhaled virus. Multi-layer cloth masks block release of exhaled respiratory particles into the environment, along with the microorganisms these particles carry. Cloth masks not only effectively block most large droplets, but they can also block the exhalation of fine droplets and particles smaller than 10 microns, which increase in number with the volume of speech and specific types of phonation. Multi-layer cloth masks can both block up to 50 to 70% of these fine droplets and particles and limit the forward spread of those that are not captured. Upwards of 80% blockage has been achieved in human experiments that have measured blocking of all respiratory droplets, with cloth masks in some studies performing on par with surgical masks as barriers for source control. The third section of the brief is called Filtration for Personal Protection. Studies demonstrate that cloth mask materials can also reduce wearers' exposure to infectious droplets through filtration, including filtration of fine droplets and particles less than 10 microns. The relative filtration effectiveness of various masks has varied widely across studies, in large part due to variation in experimental design and particle sizes analyzed. Multiple layers of cloth with higher thread counts have demonstrated superior performance compared to single layers of cloth with lower thread counts, in some cases filtering nearly 50% of fine particles less than 1 micron. Some materials may enhance filtering effectiveness by generating triboelectric charge that enhances capture of charged particles, while others may help repel moist droplets and reduce fabric wetting, and thus maintain breathability and comfort. The fourth section Human Studies of Masking and SARS-CoV-2 Transmission. Data regarding the real-world effectiveness of community masking are limited to observational and epidemiological studies. An investigation of a high exposure event in which two symptomatically ill hairstylists interacted for an average of 15 minutes with each of 139 clients during an 8-day period found that none of the 67 clients who subsequently consented to an interview and testing developed infection. The stylists and all clients universally wore masks in the salon as required by local ordinance and company policy at that time. In a study of 124 Beijing households with greater than one laboratory-confirmed case of SARS-CoV-2 infection, mask use by the index patient and family contacts before the index patient developed symptoms reduced secondary transmission within the household by 79%. A retrospective case control study from Thailand documented that among more than 1,000 persons interviewed as part of contact tracing investigations, those who reported having always worn a mask during high-risk exposures experienced a greater than 70% reduced risk of acquiring infection compared with persons who did not wear masks under these circumstances. A study of an outbreak aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt, an environment notable for congregate living quarters and close working environments, found that use of face coverings on board was associated with 70% reduced risk. Investigations involving infected passengers aboard flights longer than 10 hours strongly suggest that masking prevented in-flight transmissions, as demonstrated by the absence of infection developing in other passengers and crew in the 14 days following exposure. 7 studies have confirmed the benefit of universal masking in community-level analyses. In a unified hospital system, a German city, a U.S. state, a panel of 15 U.S. states and Washington, D.C., as well as both Canada and the U.S. nationally. Each analysis demonstrated that, following directives from an organizational or political leadership for universal masking, new infections fell significantly. 2 of these studies and an additional analysis of data from 200 countries that included the U.S. also demonstrated reductions in mortality. An economic analysis using U.S. data found that, given these effects, increasing universal masking by 15% could prevent the need for lockdowns and reduced associated losses of up to $1 trillion or 5% of gross domestic product. Conclusions section. Experimental and epidemiological data support community masking to reduce the spread of SARS-CoV-2. The prevention benefit of masking is derived from the combination of source control and personal protection for the mask wearer. The relationship between source control and personal protection is likely complementary and possibly synergistic, so that individual benefit increases with increasing community mask use. Further research is needed to expand the evidence base for the Further research is needed to expand the evidence base for the protective effect of cloth masks, and in particular, to identify the combinations of materials that maximizing both their blocking and filtering effectiveness, as well as fit, comfort, durability, and consumer appeal. Adopting universal masking policies can help avert future lockdowns, especially if combined with other non-pharmaceutical interventions, such as social distancing, hand hygiene, and adequate ventilation. The report has a series of references, and again, that was a CDC brief that was issued November 10th, 2020. Can be found on the CDC website, and Dr. Burns had requested that study be read.
Any other questions?
I did get one more email that was asked to be read, so. Do you have that one?
Is it one that I have?
Okay.
Or do you want to tell me who it's from?
It's from Mandy Phillips.
Yes, from this morning.
I do think I have
That was
that one,
this
thank
morning,
you.
yeah.
Okay. Bear with me.
And I can read it.
Yes, I've got it.
Okay.
Yep, you're right. Thank you, Commissioner. This is from Mandy Phillips. My name is Mandy Phillips. I want to thank you for taking the time to read this. Our family has been affected by COVID. Our family was always careful and avoided mass gatherings, etc. I was so fearful for my daughter, Aspen, who is 23 years old. She had a severe seizure disorder and a compromised immune system. Our family all tested positive for COVID almost 2 weeks ago. This included my 3-year-old, my 23-year-old, and my husband, Bill, who was 48, and myself. We were all starting to feel better. Who would have known that last Thursday my life would be turned upside down? My husband was not feeling well still, so went to bed about 6:30. I stayed up and was watching TV. Around 10, I went to bed. I noticed that Bill was very close to the edge of the bed. I tapped him several times to get him to move over, and I couldn't. I then got out of bed to try to get him to respond. At this time, I called EMS. They worked on him for 20 minutes. They got a good pulse and heartbeat. He had several doses of epinephrine. My final goodbye was them doing compressions as they left. God was with our son as my 3-year-old was on the couch the whole time and never woke up. He died shortly after they got to the hospital. Not only did I lose my husband and my best friend that night, and my children lost their daddy, I also lost the opportunity to adopt the twin boys. I also lost the opportunity to adopt the twin boys my husband and I were in the final process of doing. My 3-year-old does not understand. Last night, he cried for 30 minutes. I had to explain that he couldn't call Daddy on the phone. Aspen is lost and does not understand why Daddy won't come back. I know masks are a pain, but truly it can save lives. Thank you for your time. If at all possible, can this please be read at your meeting tomorrow? Again, that was Mandy Phillips.
Thank you. So I would like to take a few moments. I want to look at some of this. I did get a chance on the break, and then we can begin our discussion. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I do want to make sure. Is there anyone else that would like to say something during the public, during the open?
I want to say one thing.
Okay.
It's about
You have to come to the mic, and if you'll say your name, that's
My
great.
name's Mark Gillen.
Okay.
I just want to address the size of a micron. I don't know if you guys are familiar how big a micron is. So if you take a strand of your hair, lay it sideways, you can put 60 microns on a strand of hair. And a virus is 0.125. N95 mask only works on 1 micron. How in the world are you going to stop it? You understand what I'm saying? We're talking about 1,000 times smaller than a 1. You can put 60 on a strand of hair. So you're worried about a cloth mask catching a 0.125 virus? No way. That's all I'm going to add. Make sure you guys knew that.
All right, thank you, Mark. Okay, so I want to take just a moment to look over this information, and then we'll go ahead and begin our discussion. So. Commissioners, do you need additional time, or are you ready to move forward in our meeting?
Ready?
Okay. You ready? Okay. So with that, we're on item 3, the consideration of ordinances and resolutions. Now, again, we can call for the resolution in an open discussion, if that's the best way to do that. So we can make a motion, we can have a second, or else we can have a discussion. So I think part of the proper way would be have a motion and then a second, and then we can actually go ahead and open it for discussion.
Do we have an ordinance number on this?
2884, 2020.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Ordinance number 2884-2020.
Okay, with that, I'll call for a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance number 2884, 2020, an ordinance to require the wearing of face mask coverings in the city of Garden City, Kansas.
So we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and then it's been seconded, and so now we're open for discussion and before we'll take the vote. So we'll go ahead and open it for discussion. I know we've had a lot of information. I know that all of us have received lots of emails and texts and messages, and so a lot of input on this. And so again, I just want to make sure we open it for discussion. We'll discuss this completely before we actually call for a vote.
You want to freeform the discussion, or do you want to go around the horn,
Let's freeform it first, and then we'll go ahead and maybe ask for closing comments. I think that would probably be the most. So that way we can kind of get an idea of where we're maybe thinking after our discussion, so.
I can start, I guess. Or you want to go?
Well, I was just going to say that legal counsel provided us, I know we made a motion on this, but legal counsel provided just before the meeting, we might discuss if we want to add to section 4 of the exemptions, item L, persons engaged in religious activities protected by the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, including but not limited to worship services. If we want to add that to this, that might be a good starting point, and then if we want to move forward from there.
Yeah,
I think that's a good addition.
I would recommend to, yeah. Okay.
So your motion is to
approve
approve
with that
the
additional.
ordinance as presented to you and include therewith subsection L in section 4?
Right.
Section 4.
Okay.
Thank you, I forgot all about that.
Okay, sorry. So Commissioner Ortiz, you said that you would like to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I know there was a lot of just miscommunication, and there was a lot of things taken out of context where, I mean, I do the same thing sometimes. It's just the way that we read things. And when a lot of these things are discussed out in the open, it's easier to understand. And I think that was the whole reason why we asked for this meeting, was to just get everything out in the open. Going through some of the items on the mandate, to me is still a little bit misinterpreted. Like for instance, I'll just go ahead and start with section 1, item B. Public space means an indoor or outdoor space or area that is open to the public. This does not include any private residential property or private offices, or the workspace that are not open to customers, clients, patients, or other public visitors. I know that's a definition, but then going down to section 2, item E, maybe a little bit contradicting there, while outdoors and public spaces, and unable to maintain a 6-foot distance between individuals, with only infrequent or incidental moments of closer proximity. Out of context, it kind of just puts the impression on, well, if we're out at the park and we're playing, do we have to wear masks all the time because we're passing somebody along the sidewalk? I understand that can be taken out of context that way. So, and then, of course, going back to item B on section 1, it's just because it says outdoor, does that mean public? Or does that mean like everywhere on the street? As soon as I cross the property line of my house, do I need to put it on? I know there's just a lot of things that are just up in the air, kind of. It's tough to write something or type something so that everybody can follow and easy, take it the right way. And I think we are trying as a commission to help everyone, and I know it's tough. I've got family members in my household, and I've got family members outside the home, and I got friends that are tugging me both ways. So it is really hard, and I don't know all the answers. I don't know if, when it describes face masks, does it talk about gaiters? Because those are a lot of that sports players wear all the time, are the gaiters, so it doesn't say anything about that. It's tough. I don't like the word mandate. I get that we could probably do something in order to help out, communicate, educate. I don't know if there's a good way to do it.
I do want to point out that we specifically stayed away from the word mandate and the word mask.
Okay.
So it's a face covering, and it's a requirement. So again, I know those words are both are triggering words. And so when you talked about gaiters, I know that when this was being crafted, that we wanted to make sure and definitely stay away from any type of a mandate or a mask.
Right, and there's a definition of what a face covering is in section 1, part A.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I took, simply wrapped around the lower face, considering that to be a gaiter.
I would too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I just like to highlight some points that I kind of circled throughout, everybody talking here today. And, one of the questions, or we did have what started on the 10th or something about the 3 Ws. The 6th through the, okay. I don't know if we put a stop to that. We didn't have the authority to actually stop that so it is running its course right now up until the 16th, I believe. But I think that's a great way to send out a message to the community, and if it requires the help of the community, I think that would be a good way for every individual who, especially, signed their name on a petition or came to the meeting or had a different opinion of things, for all to just jump on the same bandwagon. And make this as far as just an educational movement, so that we can educate people without such a big ruckus. It's the way my feeling is, I guess. Also, there's another one that another one that I circled was the fact that there's no education given by, other than the fact I heard vitamin D was about the only thing that was mentioned today on how to help your immune system or how to fight the disease. I know there's probably other things out there, but I just haven't heard any of that stuff, and that's probably something that the medical doctors here can probably come up and offer. So another one that I kind of circled was the fact that there wasn't, one person, I think it was Lisa, who's, she talked about there's really no hard evidence to secure or to basically make her feel comfortable that that's the right thing to do. And I can hear both sides. I can hear, the fact that I'm not saying masks don't help at all. It's 0%. But I believe it's my personal opinion to say I'm helping, by me speaking right now, I'm helping to just do what I can to not distribute so many, particles or virus or whatever it is. So I'm not a doctor either, but I feel like if it's just an educational movement and everybody gets on board, I don't think it should be an enforcement to wear it. I think I know the stores, I appreciate all the local stores coming in and local businesses coming to talk, but that's something that we're here to do, is to help them. We're also here to help the medical professional teams to keep them from being so stressed at work. But how do you do that? I'm for and I'm against. I mean, I don't know. It is tough. It's a tough decision, but we're up here to make those tough decisions, and I guess I'll do whatever it takes to help. So,
I mean, I have a bunch of stuff, but I feel the same way as Commissioner Ortiz, that it is a tough decision because it's such a new, it's not like we're talking about chickenpox or something like that, where we have mountains of studies. Some of the things that I'd like to point out, I was looking at the survey that Downtown Vision did and sent out, and one of the questions in there is, for each of the following changes to business operations, please indicate whether these changes will make you more or less likely to shop or dine there. And one of those questions is masks worn by all customers in the store. So if everybody in a store is wearing a mask, would you be more or less likely, or no change, to shop there? 51% of the people said they'd be more likely to shop there. 31% of people had no difference. If people were wearing masks or not wearing masks, didn't make a difference. 18% of the people said that they'd be less likely to shop there. So we can kind of see that there's a difference of opinion between people are in a place that has masks more than, we'll just say half of people are more likely to shop there. Third of people doesn't matter either way. And then that 18% would be less likely to shop there. Now, if we go on further and you go look at the actual comments at the end, and there was an open-ended question. And that open-ended question was, thank you for your business for downtown. Please share with us any other ideas and suggestions that make your shopping dining experiences more comfortable as we navigate this time. So nothing to do about masks at all. It's just open-ended, just the final question. Tell us if you want anything else. If you look at the breakdown of comments in there, we have almost 50-50, actually a little bit more anti-mask than pro-mask. So remember that one question where are people more likely to shop at a place if they have a mask? 50% said yes, and if we take that with the neutral, we have 80% of people saying yes. But the comments are 50-50. So there's a disconnect between feeling this way and commenting this way. And if we take it down by the actual percent, the people that said that they were less likely to shop at a store versus how many comments they had, about 1 out of every 2.5 people that's in that non-mask side left a comment. Whereas if we're talking about the people that masks are more encouraging to shop there, about 1 out of every 14 people. So you can see the difference in ratio and responses when we have public solicitation of things. We're getting about, for every 1 comment, it's representing about 2.5 people that are on the anti side, where 1 comment is about 14 people on the pro side. And this was done September, Downtown Vision. We're kind of in a different position than we are now. This was really to get prepared for what should the downtown businesses do for that sort of thing. And a similar question that's, only tangentially related to this. If we look at all the staff wearing masks, we have 95% of people are positive on staff. So we have those kind of things coming from a public standpoint. Some other things, my day job is strategic analyst, which is taking massive piles of data and synthesizing it all, and then coming to conclusions is the best course of action for specifically usually our economy, but whatever. So some of the things I've looked at, I only look at the research from September on. And if you look at older research, we really have, in any time when we have research, it starts where we're like, we don't really know what's going on here, but as we go, it wiggles towards what is the overall truth. And if you look at stuff that's older than September, we do have some of that wiggling. Like we said, I think Dr. Rupp submitted a paper, it's from the Pediatric Journal about the ineffectiveness of wearing masks. But if you go look through the actual citations on there, there's been retracted papers, there's been corrected papers that really do lead to that paper just being out of date. So some of the things that I've seen when looking at just the recent studies, one thing they're finding is that 10 to 20 people of the people, 10 to 20% of the people are causing 80% of the infections. And I really wish I kind of had a safety net of a doctor to make sure I'm interpreting everything correctly here. But so when we look at the research, a small percentage of people is providing most of the infections in the area. And this isn't the way the normal, like this was, the paper is actually comparing how COVID is getting spread versus how the flu spreads. And the spread of flu is more one-to-one, kind of like we'd expect, where if I have it, you have it, then you get it. This isn't the case. I actually find that a lot of people aren't spreading COVID. There's just few people that are spreading it to a lot of people at super spreader events, one way or the other. They find that unlike most other illnesses, right now they feel that the time when people are most infectious is right before, the 24 hours before you start showing symptoms. So the advice of, well, just avoid crowds if you feel bad, that doesn't really contain everything right now. We're learning that you have to avoid crowds right before you start feeling bad, which is going to be hard without good contact tracing. If we had contact tracing that was widespread, and that'd be pretty easy to do. Say, oh, you came in contact with somebody 2 or 3 days ago, you need to remove yourself even though you don't feel bad yet because you're at the point where you're going to be. But I don't think we have the capacity as a community to stop the most infectious type of people right now. They are seeing a very high concentration of a relationship between the viral load and how severe an infection is. So how much dose you get of the virus at the time that you get infected by the virus has a strong correlation with how severe that is, and specifically the chances of going into ICU. And so that leads to part of the reasons why, looking at the research here, the mass actually come true. Because like everybody says, it's not perfect. I mean, everybody, all the research, it's not perfect, but it does reduce. And specifically, it reduces when the person who is infected is out. It doesn't necessarily help that much if you're not infected, trying to prevent, me wearing this right now isn't protecting everybody from there getting me sick. It's if I'm sick, and I'm gonna start feeling symptoms tomorrow, not getting everybody else here sick. And the way that works is the minimum size of, so most of the virus spread comes not from individual virus particles, it's from viruses inside droplets of water. And they looked at the research on what's the smallest size of water particle that can go, that has virus, and it's, hold on, this is why, 4,700 nanometers. So the size of an average COVID particle, not just any virus, because viruses are huge and small. The normal size of a normal COVID particle is 100 nanometers. We're talking, and the smallest that the virus can get into a droplet and get out is 4,700 or 4,700 nanometers. When you go look at cloth mass, that is right where the holes are, where some that do get, there are some that are too small, some that are large, but there's also a paper, sorry, I just got louder, that goes through and measures all the different kinds of homemade masks with other masks. And it is true, wearing a bandana is not going to do anything. Wearing a knitted mask, you could try. And obviously N95s and surgical had the most reduction of that viral load out. And this was from September 2nd. So we see that, the idea is to prevent the super spreader events from people before they're symptomatic, which really there's not too many other ways that we can do. And again, doing the 3 Ws, washing your hands and social distancing and stuff like that. The other thing that just came out 2 days ago on November 9th was looking at people that are COVID positive, and it's overall all psychiatric disorders. So this is looking at hospital patients that are COVID positive versus influenza, skin infection, a whole bunch of other things. And there's a couple things, psychiatric illnesses up, insomnia is up and stuff like that. So people with COVID have these higher rates of these mental disorders. But the one that really stuck out to me when I was looking at this is dementia. And this is developing dementia within 90 days of getting a COVID positive result. We're talking in patients over 65, 1 out of 60 people who test positive that are over 65 develop dementia within 90 days. And that's, I mean, it's not even close to any other, I mean, it's not happening in influenza, it's not happening like that if you're in the hospital for a skin infection or some of those other things. So there's some other, it's not just, am I okay? I didn't die, so I'm fine. We're finding right now, I mean, there's psychiatric problems that are significantly tied to becoming COVID positive. And it doesn't happen with other things like that. I have a bunch more stuff, but I think I've probably talked long enough. I'll let
We can go.
somebody, right,
Yeah,
right.
it's not that you have to be one and done, so that's.
Yeah, well, you got your chance, so.
Right, that was it. If I did that, no,
You'll get
I'll
lots of
shut up.
chances. Yeah, you'll get lots of chances, yeah.
So to kind of go off what Shannon was saying, I know that, I mean, I still don't know which way I'm going to vote, but there's a front line of health workers that are dealing with this every single day, but there's also a second line, and that's where I deal with people every single day. Those are the people who have tested positive, they're quarantined, and they need food, or they need water, or they need medical care, or they need something, because they don't have the support system to be able to provide those things for them. And so that's when I get a phone call asking for help. And it's my job to make sure that I give people the support that they need in order to be successful. And what's been interesting since the start of COVID is how I'm getting phone calls from people who are apologizing for asking for help. Because Catholic Charities has found that over 60% of the people who are calling them asking for rental assistance or asking for food assistance, this is the first time they've called for help. And so that's what I do every day, is I work with people who are on that. And so to me, I feel like, and I said this last week, that the mask mandate debate has sort of forced us to lose focus of what we're trying to do, and that is to decrease COVID in this community. And it does have an economic impact, because a lot of these people are calling and they're asking me, well, what am I going to do about paying my rent or feeding my family? What's the choice that I have to make? And yes, there are services out there, but again, the second line is more of the long game and helping these people to become successful and to remain employed so that they can feed their families. And so again, it kind of comes back to stopping the spread, prevention, figuring out what we can do in order to get our positivity rate down. And we've all heard that masks are not the be-all to end-all. It's not going to be the magic bullet that all of a sudden stops COVID, but the education piece is still very important. So that's why I really appreciate the health department and their campaign to challenge people to wear their masks, watch their distance, wash their hands. And a mask is one piece of that, and being able to help with slowing that spread. And it also, if you think about it from the perspective of, people who are over 60 who are developing other situations.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what.
Siri wants to.
I think she wants to know what you want to.
But, if you think about, again, that second line and dealing with people's long-term effects of making sure that they can get employed and making sure that we can keep our businesses open, keep our schools open, that really needs to be part of this discussion as well. The one side of me is, I think if we can wear a mask for 30 days or 60 days and help slow that spread, that's great. Then on the other hand, if we have half the population who isn't going to abide by that, then what good is it? That's where I'm at right now. So.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I guess really would like to thank everybody that did email, call, comment, stop me. We really do value that input from all of our citizens. I'd like to thank all the people that came to our last City Commission meeting and spoke, and to this City Commission special meeting to speak about this topic. you know, we're in the middle. You know, we said we're at 41%, it's increasing. So what do we do? That was the question. What do we do? You know, I walked out last night and we went shopping. You hit the front of every store that we went into, and it says, before you enter this store, you have to wear a mask. There are requirements. I know I'm not going to try to bring the city into this, but we have increased the mask the requirements for the city. I know the county has. The school district has increased its level of operation due to conditions in the community. But where do we stand at this point? I know it's going to be probably increasing. I mean, we're in the middle of the fire is the problem. And how do we stop that? You know, we're all wearing masks right now, but is that going to help stop? And the question was asked, but nobody knows. And that's where I'm having an issue. Where is it starting? Where is it spread? Where is the cases spreading? Because everybody that has spoken to, or that I've talked to, or has talked to me, it's like, well, it's not happening here, it's not happening here. We know there's a few cases, but it's not spreading here. So how do we work to alleviate that? Because, yeah, I agree. We need to stay in school, because that was the other comments that everybody had, that, you know, we need to keep our businesses open. It's very important to keep our businesses open, and it's vitally important, and it was strongly suggested that we, you know, keep our schools open, because they do work hand in hand. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, so thank you. So some comments. I know when the county started way back when, it seems like COVID's been going on forever, but I mean, they had the 3 goals of slowing the spread, also making sure that we didn't overwhelm our healthcare system. And the third one was to limit the number of deaths. And so the thing that I was thinking about, and so we didn't hear as many medical providers this time as we did last time, but you know, when I get sick or when I have issues or health issues, I go to the experts. And so here's my struggle. When experts come to us and they're saying, hey, these are the things that are happening, here's what's happening in our hospital, here's what's happening in our businesses, here's what's happening with my patients, then it's hard for me not to either do I trust the experts, or am I saying, you know, well, I'm sorry, that's your opinion. So, you know, when you think about, especially in the school district, I think I agree with Commissioner Cessna, and I mean, probably all the rest, is that there is this tie between economic and also the school system. So if parents come home from work to have to take care of their kids, I don't want latchkey kids. I mean, that's, you know, I definitely don't want that. But if you have no one taking care of your kids and we have to close school, then what does that do to the economics? Do they get COVID pay? I mean, because again, no one has COVID, but simply the fact that, you know, we can no longer up to school safely. You know, a lot of the medical testimony, I really rely heavily on local experts. I think it's great, all the other things, but when their local experts are coming in and saying, this is what's happening in our county, I want to make sure I pay attention to that. I don't live in any other county. I live in Finney County, I live in Garden City, and so I'm really putting a lot of weight on that. It does concern me that, and that's why I won't use the mandate word. I mean, because if there are a group of people who say, you know, under no circumstance, no matter what, then really, are we doing anything good? I mean, are we just, again, offering up something that, again, gives people an opportunity to not be lawful? I don't believe if we did put an ordinance in place that most people would say, you know, I'm not going to do that, absolutely not, because just like when we were discussing the fireworks, I mean, this idea of, I do believe that we live in a lawful society. It's hard. I started off early on without thinking that masks were that valuable, but I have a parent who is up for a transplant, and if she's called to go to a transplant and she has COVID, then she could miss that opportunity. So do I take that risk or don't I take that risk? And you know, really, that opportunity might not come up for another year or so, and so I'm not gonna miss that opportunity. So, you know, there's a lot of personal things involved with COVID, as well as the public things. And, you know, being a public official, it isn't easy. I mean, there's been information both sides, both ways. And, you know, as far as when and where I wore my mask has changed a lot, especially with the increase of COVID. I certainly, my fear would be to get someone else sick, because really my, how I can manage myself, if someone gets me sick, then, you know, I mean, again, I do have a responsibility to keep myself healthy, make sure I sleep, which has not been as easy lately. And then to be responsible for, you know, my overall health. That's why, you know, exercise is so important. But again, me causing someone else to get sick, that is what's really hard for me. And then, so a lot of people act like the mask is something that I used to act like the mask was something that was being done to me. But I really had to change my whole thinking and saying that, you know, really the mask is something I'm doing for somebody else. And my goal is really not to get anybody else sick, and to make sure that I'm taking care of all of those around me so that they can go to work and that they can go to these different, I love that the local places of exercise are open. This is important. I think it's an important stress reliever. I think it's an important place for people to gather and congregate. Has RMS the perfect solution, or are they part of the solution? Yes, they are. Are they the perfect solution? I don't think we have one, and I know that all of our medical providers have said that. But that's kind of where I'm at, and then so we'll go around again, and if you have further comments. I'm like most of you, I walked into this not really having an opinion. I mean, I have some thoughts, and I have some, you know, things that I would like to protect, people I want to protect. And does the mask, does a face covering requirement, does that protect them, or does that protect others? You know, I don't know. If it's not followed and it creates more community division, then that's not going to work for me.
I would just like to say that I'd like to thank the community agencies that are working together to
I do
promote
too.
the 3 Ws that they're promoting, wearing masks. You know, they saw the information, and that's what we heard a lot about too, is people not knowing. All of a sudden, it just came up where the county got the mask. Somebody suggested a mask ordinance to them. They didn't have anything in front of them. Then we got asked to look at a mask ordinance, and then people got interested. They started seeing numbers. They started understanding what was happening in the community. And that was what was mentioned to me quite a bit in discussions and phone calls, was they didn't realize until, you know, now what really was happening, until we got into this discussion and they got numbers, and somehow we need to, I don't know how, but figure out how to get that information out to keep it going so people understand what's happening. So if it does rise or if it does go down, people are informed.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not this lurching type of thing that, you know, all of a sudden it's like, well, I didn't know, and now all of a sudden now everybody's informed because we've got all this information out there. So
yeah, I think
I'm grateful that the organizations are working together like we did when this whole thing started out. You know, the longest spring break in the history of school. You know, we went on spring break and we didn't come back until we started school again. So, but we had a coalition built. It kind of started, and then it kind of eased off, and now we're you know, all the organizations and everybody's now coming together, and I think everybody's pulling in one direction again, trying to make sure, you know, as a community, you know, we stay open, we stay viable, you know, because we are a regional hub. I mean, the medical professionals, people come to Garden City for care, you know, and people come to Garden City because we have the businesses we do, and come to downtown, you know. So it is vital that we all pull together and work together as a group to move forward.
Well, I'll say that each one of the county commissioners have reached out and said that, you know, they're going to support the city commission no matter what our decision, and so that, you know, they really do see all of us as a vital part of working together. I even though I attended most of the county commission meetings, sometimes virtually, not in person, the information about the hospital and the number of ICU beds and all of that, how at the level of care they were at, that was the first time I'd heard that information. And so I think that, like Commissioner Sessions pointing out, having this information and being more transparent, and then again, working together to really say, how can we really move this forward? But as part of that moving forward, I know that they are going to be considering an ordinance or a resolution, I know, on their upcoming meeting. But is that part of this idea of is moving forward, making sure that we say, here's parts of the solution, not the solution, because I don't think there is one.
And as a median for me, I mean, if I'm looking at both sides of this, the median here is just the campaign of education.
Yeah.
I mean, on both sides of the spectrum, I don't hear a lot of complaints about, well, education, we don't need to do that. Why should we educate? I mean, if it were me, I'd like to move with that and jump on the wagon and say, okay, let's educate. I know we did a really good job when we wanted to open back up businesses of wiping down carts, hand sanitizer stations everywhere. We did a really good job because you had people, they stationed people out there to wipe the carts down before they came in or before you took it. I think that is a lot better than saying to people, you have to wear a mask, or don't make fun of me because I'm not wearing a mask. The median here to me is just to get an education out there or some sort of a campaign to direct everyone to help out in their own way.
Well, I think that education piece is key. I do. I think that the more education people have, the better informed they're going to be, the better decisions they can make that help them, for themselves. But mask shaming goes both ways.
That's right.
Because I've also been shamed for wearing my mask in the community. And so if there's a way that we can somehow come together, I don't know what that is. I mean, it just amazes me that we are this volatile about something like this. And as Commissioner Cessna said, we're in the middle of the forest and it's on fire and we have a garden hose to put it out. And we're at that point. And I don't know that any decision that's made today is going to be met with any sort of praise or recognition. It's really going to be a divisive decision either way. But really, at the end of the day, as elected officials, it's up to us to protect our community, and it's up to us to make those decisions for the good of the whole. And that's the place where I'm coming from.
I have a few more numbers. So when CDC, and this is back in March or May, they released a pandemic planning, where to plan to be with hospitalizations, fatalities, and stuff like that. They said to plan for every 29 people that test positive, one of them to turn into a hospitalization. So far, just Finney County, we're just looking at Finney County data. So far, we're at every 22 that test positive are in a hospital. So that's worse than what CDC said to plan for. Similarly, with fatalities, they said 1 out of every 250 positives should end up in a fatality, or we expect to end up in a fatality. We're actually right now, and this was updated with the current 21st, 22nd, and 23rd death, we're at 157 positives ending up in a fatality, which is at a rate 60% greater than what we should have been, what we would have been expecting. So these numbers are kind of up there. So when we're talking about it, so for Finney County, we're 157 people testing positive, results in 1 fatality. Yesterday, we had 76 positives. That means we should expect, we have a 50-50 chance that somebody who tested positive is getting in a fatal case, right? So those numbers are there. I mean, these aren't out there numbers. These are what we're actually seeing, the actual fatalities, the actual hospitalization rates in our community. The other thing that some people have pointed at is that some of these places like Johnson County and Sedgwick County, and I believe Salina is the other one, Saline County, that has, or Saline, sorry, they don't like it if you call it Saline. Saline County, they've had spikes, just like we've had spikes recently. Their spikes are, and I'm looking at per capita, per 100,000 people. Their current spike is in Salina, it's at 49.5 people per 100,000 have tested positive. That's at the top of the spike. That's the most recent spike data. In Johnson County, we're at 50 per 153 per 100,000. At Sedgwick County, we're at 84 per 100,000. That's the spikes that they're all dealing with, that they're saying, oh my, and I mean, Sedgwick County just even, I believe, even implement even tougher lockdowns because they're at 84, which is twice that of Saline County and 50% higher than Johnson County. Finney County is at 133. So when we're talking about our spike here being bad and everybody having spikes, if we had the rate that Johnson County would have, I don't even think we'd be having this meeting. I mean, if we're only talking about, we're right around 400, 500 active cases right now. If we're only talking about 250 active cases, I don't think we're even having this meeting. So to compare what we're going through our spike right now and say, well, other places are going through spikes that have a mandate, well, yeah, but they're at such a lower number, any little up is gonna look huge because we're talking about these changes, these rates of changes. We're starting high and we just keep on getting higher. And we did do a good job through the summer, really through June through the beginning of September. We did a really good job keeping that down below 25, but really that's really increased up there. So a couple of other points, like people alluded to, the thing that I'm most fearful of is that ICU and hospital space. And it isn't just the COVID. I mean, the easiest solution would be, well, you know, people make their own decisions about getting sick or not, or doing dangerous things or not. They're the ones that have to be punished if we run out of hospital spaces, right? But the problem is it's not that case because we have to use a hospital space for more than just this one pandemic. So if we're using up these hospital spaces for these things that are preventable, then if somebody has a car crash, if somebody has a heart attack, we're using up our medical capacity on something else. And I know personally, I will be fine, most likely. I mean, the statistics show, most likely I'm gonna be completely fine. My family will be completely fine if we get COVID, right? That's not what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of if our community has the rate that we do, we're filling up the beds like we are, and I get in a car wreck and my daughter has to go to the hospital. Will she have that care because of what's going on in the community? So that's one of my things. The other thing is we're talking about risk. And a lot of this is about managing risk and how can you wear a mask most of the times that if you go to a restaurant, you don't. And you will, there is exposure there, but part of that is managing overall risk with trying to live as a normal lifestyle. So there is chances to get exposure at places that we have exemptions in here. I believe we have physical activities, outdoor activities, sitting and eating. And there are risks that are tied to that, but those are deemed either essential, so we need to live with that risk, or if you have a problem with that, you can do curbside pickup and take that food home. Or that risk is so low that it's negligent, or it's such a small thing that the exercise itself is more of a benefit than wearing a mask because the chances of transmission versus the benefits to health outweigh each other. So when we're talking about this, all this isn't a binary yes, no, I am gonna get it, I'm not gonna get it. These things are good, these things are bad. It's all about a gradient of what is risky, what isn't risky, and how can we make the things that we need to do as not as risky as possible. And then the final thing I'd like to say, and I believe we talked about that is, I mean, our job is to make these decisions, and the people who know what's best for them 99.9% of the time is the experts in the field. And we're hearing experts from the hospital, we're hearing experts from all the care providers, we're hearing from schools and stuff like that, that these are the steps we need to take. And as a commission, I feel like we always listen to the experts because they're the ones that are immersed in this. They know the ins and outs. They know when this study gets published 2 days ago, they're reading up on that. And not everybody knows that. So that I usually tend to side on the side of the experts because they are the ones that live each of these every day. I mean, we don't try to figure out how to do things with electric. I mean, we have our experts in electric come in and say, hey, we should buy out this power pool system to be able to transmit. You're like, sounds good. I don't know things like that. We listen to our experts. So I think that really is my last time. I will say thank you for everybody for coming and telling, and sharing your viewpoint and doing all that. I mean, this is vital to how a community works and how governance works and stuff like that. I mean, very pleased with the number of people that came out and let us know, and in person, but also the numerous phone calls and emails and messages and stuff. I mean, it's, I don't think there'll be another issue that we have to deal with that will even get close to this much contact that I've had with everybody on both sides of the issue. So.
All downhill from here, huh?
It's, this is the peak. Yeah.
Well, I know that my phone won't stop ringing once this decision is made today, simply because there will still be people who are going to need to take care of their families because they need food, they need medical supplies, they need this or they need that. And those are the stories that I listen to on a very regular basis. And, you know, and these aren't people who aren't employed. I mean, these are people who have jobs, have insurance, and are struggling because of COVID, either because they've had it and they can't work, or they don't have it, but they've been laid off because of their business that is closed or is impacted. And so for me, it comes down to thinking about what's going to be in our community's best interest, and listening to the experts and listening to what they have to say. But then also appreciating the fact that we have so many people who have brought their opinions on the other side. You haven't made it easy for us, and that's good, because this is not a decision that should be made lightly, and we should struggle with this one. But at the end of the day, it's what's best for our community, and whether that be through a requirement of wearing masks or not is yet to be decided by this commission.
So I again just want to reiterate, this has been an incredible time of public comment, not only last meeting, but also this meeting. And I know all the commissioners have said how much they appreciate the amount of public input. There's been a lot with passion. I mean, I've read stories that I never really knew happened in Garden City. Some have really, you know, impacted me in a way I feel like I've not really paid attention enough. So again, the decision is not going to be easy in how we decide that. I do want to say that I didn't realize that the hospital had to close a behavioral unit just due to the care for COVID patients. And that was probably one of the biggest shocks to me, that they had to make some very definite decisions. So I do appreciate this idea of the education. I do want to let you know that we are moving forward with the county, in connection with the county, to move forward, to be a partner with them on their 3W campaign and the educational campaign. I've had the opportunity to be a part of several meetings. Commissioner Dries and I actually did a video this morning just to really promote their 3Ws. So just to let you know that education, I agree, is the thing that we really, again, that we're going to continue to do. Any final comments for the commissioner before I call for a vote?
No.
I just want to make sure that we're in agreement on the motion. Again, it's for ordinance 2884-2020 and requiring a face mask coverings in the city of Garden City with the additional item L in section 4, again, which probably, I know, was just handed to us by legal counsel, but again, I'll read it at section 4, item L, persons engaged in religious activities protected by the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, including but not limited to worship services. And we are in agreement for that addition.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're good.
So the only other thing I wanted to do to make sure, I did have a question about enforcement, and I know Chief Utes is here. I really would like you to speak to that before we make our final decision. There are, on section 5, it talks about enforcement, violation, and penalties. And so there are a couple of items underneath there. And so, Chief Utes, would you speak to the idea of enforcement and how that will look?
Sure. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. The enforcement of this ordinance would be mirrored to our standard traffic ordinances. Traffic violations, running stop signs, parking violations, even the tobacco violations. It's an infraction. It would be a cite and release. Although the officers would have that discretion and we would push out the education of the ordinance that the ordinance is in place and have masks with us and try to encourage compliance before any enforcement action would be taken. But it would be a cite and release. It's not the rumors that the police would haul people to jail and all this is not true. That would not happen.
Thank you. And I know that you have worked with other communities who do have a face covering requirement. I know you've talked with them and then in order to help put together this kind of information.
Yes, sir. I've talked to about a half dozen chiefs that have the ordinance or did not have passed the ordinance, that they went through a process and didn't pass it. But majority of them had the ordinance, and it was exactly what I said. It was a cite and release situation, but more emphasis on education to gain compliance and move forward with it that way. Now the other, my recollection reading some of the other past ordinances, they were misdemeanors, and in speaking with the city manager and Randy Grizel, it was recommended that we place it as an infraction if an ordinance would be passed.
Yeah, I did want to note that you know, with the infraction, that if this ordinance passes, that there is no court costs associated with this, which actually would jump the cost of any type of infraction up by quite a bit.
That's correct.
And so I did, when I was reading through this, I wanted to make sure, note that no court cost should be assessed as a result of a conviction. So that does save a lot of dollars. And again, I know there was a concern about clogging our court system. And so again, I think this idea of the fine and release, or the citation and release. Like, any questions for Chief Utes?
Mayor, there have been a number of questions around the gyms, workout facilities, and recreation programming, like for the like GCRC or the YMCA. You know, I think that take those separately. I think when the fitness facilities are taking measures to adjust distance, which sounds like many have, and they have sort of a professional set of best practices for theirs, that would be viewed as making an effort to be in compliance with the ordinance. Obviously, things would be on a case-by-case basis. The other side of it would be the recreational programming for GCRC or YMCA or you know, school districts or whatever. Those would be viewed as under the exemption under H if they've got organizational best practices. KRPA, for instance, I can only speak for GCRC after talking with Aaron Stewart that, you know, Kansas Parks and Recreation Association has best practices for how it will best allow for these team recreational activities or individual sport recreational activities, but limit risk. Kind of speaking to maybe what Commissioner Dick was referring to, finding that balance. So we believe those types of things for the people engaged in the activity. Obviously, if you're in that public setting and not engaged in that activity, the standard would be different. But, that's how that would shake out under this ordinance. That really the questions we've taken on those that have read the ordinance and wondered about how they fit into the picture in this. It's almost exclusively been along those lines.
Right, and that's what I was reading it as, is if there's a professional association that says, you know, while you're doing this professional activity, I mean, and it's deemed that you can't wear a mask while doing this for safety reasons or those reasons, that this is falling under that exemption. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and also one of the exemptions too is those with medical conditions, mental health conditions, or disability that we're wearing a face covering would not be in their best interest. I think that's another exemption that I think needs to be
highlighted,
validated or spoken as well.
You're talking about exemption, under section 4, exemption B?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Persons with medical conditions, mental health condition, or disability that prevents wearing a face covering. Okay.
approaches a person, how do they prove that they're in this exemption?
That's a good Chief Hughes question.
Pardon me?
I said, that's probably a good Chief Hughes question.
Chief, you might repeat the question since nobody would have been able to hear that.
Sure.
in the audience.
I believe, if I catch it correct, that the question is, how is law enforcement going to know whether somebody's exempt or not?
Correct.
That's, if someone says, I have a medical condition, we cannot inquire any further because of HIPAA.
Mhm.
So with that, have a nice day. And
Right.
we'll end the meeting.
Okay.
So we're just relying on the law, to follow the law.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah, okay.
And just want to mention too, at the last, section 8, there was a concern that it would not end, but there is it will start on November, if it gets passed. The ordinance will become effective November 16th, and then it will be effective until December 16th. So there is an end to this unless we come back and extend this for another 30 days.
That's right.
Or we can rescind.
Or we could rescind it as a
Right.
body.
At any
Yes.
time.
At
At
any
any
time.
Yes.
And your next two regularly scheduled meetings are December 1st and December 15th.
Okay.
So I think there was an interest on the part of the commission and then in drafting this that while there's, certainly nothing you could put in the ordinance or given the circumstances to guarantee that something wouldn't, perpetuate and go on, there was an interest in the commission of making it as hard on yourself as possible to extend it,
Right.
I think,
We have to
not
opt
put words
into
in
the
your
ex-
mouth.
yeah, we have the
You're gonna
extension.
have to opt in rather than opt out.
Right.
Right.
And so we tried to set it up to where it acknowledged when the publication date would be,
Mhm.
and then, 30 days after that happens to fall the day after your second meeting in December. So that would set you up where the item would be on the December 15th agenda to see if you wanted to extend it. And, that's...
So my only other question, and this might be for Randy, is if the county does take up a face covering requirement, will that supersede the cities, or will it replace the cities, or what would that look like?
If the county's is more restrictive, then we would have to follow that resolution. Ours cannot be less restrictive than the county's resolution, so. But there could be differences in the resolution and our ordinance. When you leave the city of Garden City, if theirs is less restrictive, you could follow that particular law, and that's just a jurisdictional issue that would have to be understood by all the citizens.
Okay, any further clarifications or information that we want to bring forward before we go ahead and call for a vote?
I just have one clarification that I'd like to ask Randy, and that is, I know one of the concerns was that a city cannot enforce an ordinance such as this, and so what would be your,
Wholly untrue.
It's totally without merit. We have home rule that we can enact ordinances that protect the safety, welfare, and health of our citizens. There's a 1905 Supreme Court case, so 115 years ago, that dealt with the ability of the state of Massachusetts to compel its citizens to be vaccinated in a time of an epidemic, not a pandemic. And the Supreme Court said that when you're into issues of public health, where there's a public health emergency, that a state entity, a local entity, the national entity can enact laws that go beyond what normally you would see the governmental entity doing. And in fact, the language in that case says that in times of an emergency, health emergency, that constitutional rights can be limited and can be restricted. Now, I certainly don't like seeing that as an attorney, but the Supreme Court has said that in those circumstances, very limited circumstances, and in an emergency, there can be a restriction on constitutional rights. I'm not so convinced that the right not to wear a mask is a constitutional right, nor is choice a constitutional right, but at least we have some law out there that tells us as a municipality in Kansas that we do have the legal authority to enact an ordinance like this. And we've enacted ordinances like this before dealing with health, safety, and welfare, and they've withstood any scrutiny that might have been applied to them.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question and for that clarification. Okay, so we have a motion and a second for ordinance number 2884, again with the amendment of adding number L to the exemptions. Any questions before we call for a vote? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Aye.
Or aye.
So the ordinance passes 3-2. All right, and we thank you for that. Matt, is there any other business that comes before?
Nope.
All right, thank you.